Make sure those are working as well.
It's like an internship. She has to put so many hours in.
I'll just overflow with large crowd.
Nobody.
I know.
So that's the third Tuesday instead of the second.
I guess. They had other plans on the third Tuesday of the month.
Or they've been to my last three budget meetings and they don't want to hear me drone on for 3 hours
That's
about
my
funds
vote.
and taxes.
Yeah,
That's my vote.
yeah, probably. You did better last year, though.
Well, the first year he had a
The
big
first year was like,
depression.
oh my God. No,
Well, I was also learning. It's a
I'm
complicated
kidding
budget.
you.
Our budget's like 4 or 5 times the size of most
You didn't say like
municipalities our
this,
size.
this time we do this dot, da-da-da.
I remember when Michael did it, I think it was his last year,
Let me take it
and
from
he
the
didn't.
homework.
He had it up and down, not.
Oh, yeah, it was so hard to
And it
read.
was
Yeah.
like,
It was like.
I was following the Dwight clock, but I guess I don't
It's
know.
6 o'clock. I'm gonna stand up because it takes.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 PM. People please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call for attendance? Luann Homa,
Here.
Kevin Bertocchi. Here. Brian Nolan,
Present.
Ray Kerr,
Here,
Maggie Smith,
Here.
Susan Clark,
Here.
Scott Tadowski is here, and Mayor Bob Lang.
Here.
Borough Solicitor Eric D.
Here.
Borough Manager Dwight Bodor. Here. Code Enforcement Officer Anthony Bruni.
Here.
And from the Police Department, Lieutenant Mark Lakowski.
Here.
All right, before we get started, I have a couple things that I want to address and acknowledge. First, I want to talk about the flyers that everybody has seen on the news and social media. I want to thank you, Mayor Lang, Chief Akulik, Mark, and really the entire Trentham Police Department for your work and active investigation into the hateful flyers circulated in our region. Your professionalism and steady leadership continue to protect this community from fear and division. Our region has faced tragedy after tragedy in recent years. In moments like this, it is essential that we stand together and make clear that hate and intimidation have no place in Trentham. Not in our streets, not in our schools, and not in our neighborhoods. Hate tries to divide us, but we are always stronger when we come together. Thank you to our officers and to every resident who continues to choose kindness and community. Thank you. Second, I want to make a statement about Jeff Adams. Jeff served Trentham for 22 years as our water plant director and was a true cornerstone of our operations. His knowledge, dedication, and steady hand ensured safe, reliable water for our residents every single day. Jeff also served with pride at Fawn No. 2 Volunteer Fire Department, giving countless hours to help and protect others. He embodied the very best of public service. We are grateful for Jeff's many years of dedication to this community. Please keep his family and loved ones in your thoughts. Trentham is better because of Jeff Adams, and he will be deeply missed. At this time, I would ask for a moment of silence in honor of Jeff Adams. Thank you. All right. I'm gonna be done for a while. I'm gonna pass it over to Dwight for our 2026 proposed, oh, look at you cracking your knuckles and everything. Proposed budget
Here.
presentation.
Thank you. Municipal Council, Mayor Lang, on behalf of the borough staff, I'm pleased to present the draft 2026 fiscal budget, which reflects our continued commitment to delivering essential services efficient, sustainably, and with long-term stability in mind. From maintaining roadways, utilities, and stormwater systems to supporting public safety, recreation, and neighborhood revitalization, each component of this budget has been carefully evaluated. As with prior years, we remain focused on addressing rising costs, system needs, and community expectations, challenges shared by municipalities throughout Allegheny County and beyond. The 2026 budget maintains our emphasis on infrastructure reinvestment, prudent planning, and equitable cost distribution. To achieve these goals while ensuring reliable operations, I am recommending several modest adjustments for the coming years. These include an electric rate adjustment, a strategic freeze in residential water rates, with gradual adjustments for larger meter users, which council already enacted in a previous budget meeting, and a $1 monthly increase for garbage services to offset higher disposal and collection costs. Importantly, there will be no property tax increases in 2026. However, council should consider adopting a phased tax adjustment strategy in future years. Similar to our structured approach to electric and water rate planning, this method provides predictability, transparency, and gradual alignment with operational capital needs, avoiding sudden spikes while preserving stability. I will touch more on this later in the presentation. Impact of county reassessment policies on tax revenue. Allegheny County has not conducted a countywide reassessment since 2012, which continues to limit the borough's ability to generate sufficient tax revenue to match rising costs. This creates long-term imbalances where newer homeowners often disproportionately pay more, while long-term properties remain taxed at a rate below their actual market value. In the absence of regular reassessments, municipalities like Tarentum face growing fiscal pressure to maintain essential services without overburdening residents. For context, Tarentum's real estate tax remained unchanged for 2 decades, from 2004 to 2025. Even after last year's modest increase to support the fire tax and the fire departments, the borough's current rate of 5.98 mils remains well below what we needed to match the purchasing power of earlier years. Due to cumulative inflation, the equivalent of 5.48 mils in 2004 would now require roughly 9.21 mils to deliver the same buying power in today's dollars. While no tax increase is recommended for 2026, this comparison highlights a growing structural gap between revenues and cost, primarily driven by inflation and the absence of reassessment. Over time, that imbalance can erode the borough's ability to fund infrastructure, maintain public safety, and protect long-term stability. To ensure fiscal health, council should consider adopting a phased, predictable tax adjustment strategy in upcoming years, similar to the borough's structured approach to water and electric rates. Gradual adjustments made in small and transparent increments can help sustain core services while avoiding larger, more disruptive increases in the future. Specifically for the electric system, the borough's 5-year electric stabilization plan, launched in 2024, remains an essential tool for managing capacity-driven cost increases in the PJM market. For 2026, we are recommending a 5% rate electric adjustment, consistent with this plan. As capacity charges continue to rise across the region, and with Tarentum's borough's cost to purchase power increasing by approximately 20% next year, reaching the legal rate ceiling for the first time, this controlled and transparent approach ensures that we maintain fiscal sound electric fund while avoiding sudden and unpredictable utility spikes for residents. Tarentum remains one of the fewer than 35 municipalities in Pennsylvania to own and operate its own electric distribution system. This gives us flexibility and resilience that few communities enjoy, but it also requires deliberate planning to manage exposure to wholesale cost increases. Our approach balances that responsibility with affordability. Water system. Thanks to recent grant awards and operational efficiencies at the water plant, the borough is able to freeze residential water rates for 2026 for the 5/8 meter. This protects households from additional utility increases during a time of rising inflation. To promote long-term fairness and financial sustainability within the water fund, we recommend the continued gradual adjustments to large meter rates, focusing on aligning costs with usage and system impacts across customer classes. This shift enables us to maintain affordability for residents while introducing balance to rate structures that have not been comprehensively updated in some time. For additional continuing cost control, a $1 monthly increase in garbage and recycling rates, I need to remove recycling, we don't have that, will take effect in 2026 to cover contractual costs. The borough will continue to monitor sanitation expenses closely while pursuing regional bidding opportunities to control future costs. Additionally, operational streamlining, intergovernmental collaboration, and aggressive pursuit of grant funding remain central to our long-term strategy. Looking forward, the 2026 budget reflects forward-thinking approach that balances current needs with tomorrow's responsibility. With council support, we are continuing the deliberate phased financial plan established last year, investing in our infrastructure, protecting essential services, and ensuring rate and tax increases remain manageable for residents. We've kept Toronto's property taxes among the lowest in the county while providing full-service utilities, police, and public works. By planning ahead and through phased rate strategies and long-term fiscal discipline, we can maintain stability without sudden financial strain on our residents. This budget continues that approach, steady, responsible, and focused on Toronto's future. If you have any questions regarding the 2026 budget or would like to discuss any item further, please do not hesitate to contact the Borough office. We thank you for your continued partnership and look forward to another year of progress, resilience, and revitalization. So before I go through and start breaking down all of these other items, I lied earlier and I'm going to take my jacket off because I'm already getting hot. So there's a lot to unpack there, and like every other year, we have historic data. We have graphs to kind of help make it easier. We have comparisons, and then we can go through this as quickly or as slowly as council desires, but I do have a quick summary for that kind of gives a broad overview of the entire budget. Overall, this budget is about stability. There is no property tax increase in 2026, and all major borough services, police, utility, public works, parks, code enforcement are fully funded. The biggest drivers of next year's budget are the same pressures affecting municipalities across the region: inflation, personnel, contract obligations, and major infrastructure needs, especially in water and electric. The largest cost increase in our electric system, where wholesale capacity costs are rising by almost 20% next year. Even with that, we are keeping the rate adjustment to 5% thanks to the stabilization plan council adopted in 2025. On the water side, residential rates remain frozen, and we continue our long-range grant-funded upgrades at the treatment plant and the distribution system. Garbage services increased by just $1 per month due to contract cost. Every fund is balanced. The general fund, water fund, electric fund, and sewer fund all match revenues and expenditures with no deficit spending. We also continue our major capital work, again, water plant, mechanical and electrical upgrades, 7th and Ormond, which has been a multi-year project, TriPac, and the ERP transition, which is our computer software, and continued blight removal. Looking ahead, the long-term challenge is the same that we've discussed. The borough has gone more than 20 years without a general tax increase, and we continue to rely too heavily on the electric fund to subsidize the general fund. While there is no increase this year, council should consider a phased, predictable approach in future years, the same way we've structured our water and electric plans to avoid large jumps later. In short, this is a steady, responsible, forward-looking budget and keeps rates predictable, protects residents from sudden spikes, funds our major infrastructure, and positions us for stability and modernization moving forward. And then I will go through what all of that actually means. So again, as we go down through the funds, these are just highlights. General fund, again, tax revenue is anticipated to remain steady without those reassessments. You will note as we go down, we saw a major increase in prior year revenue because we moved collections for taxes to Keystone Collection. In typical past years, and I'll get into this, we've maybe collected 15, 20,000. We've collected over 120,000 for prior year by doing this move. And that's, so Keystone takes a portion off there, right? They take so many, small percentage per, so there's not like we're paying anything out to them. That 120-some thousand is all pure revenue. Minor cost increase in sanitation. We were actually supposed to do this in 2025, but we were able to hold off for another year without increasing it due to folks purchasing some of the extra cans. So 1 year, I don't believe if things hold steady that we'll need to increase it next year, so this should be the last contractual increase during this contract. We did do a joint bid with Harrison a couple of months ago, but as council remembers, there were multiple problems with the folks bidding, and both us and Harrison flat out rejected all three bids. Fire Protection Fund. This fund was newly established in 2025, specifically for fire protection services. We got right on the money what we predicted, about $44,000 that we were able to disperse to the fire departments this year. Should be roughly the same next year. The water fund, we have several years' worth of planned upgrades that will start in 2026. Some of these were started and planned right when I first came on board. They just take time for permitting, grants. You have to purchase some of these products are 2-3 years out, depending on what they are. So there'll be a lot of activity in 2026 specifically related to the water system, which is good. Most of it is focused on the water plant. The distribution system continues to be a problem. Again, we've gone after several grants. Some have been partially funded. One is for TriPac. It's $51,000, but the cost of the replacement for a small portion of TriPac is over $400,000. So, there's things that we're going to have to look at in the long term about how we start replacing the lines ourselves. Grants are not going to be a long-term strategy. It's just not viable. Electric fund, again, the new 5-year contract began in 2025. The 2026 budget as presented recommends the continuation of that annual strategy. So we, if you remember, adopted in 2024 for 2025 a 3 to 5% strategy every year. Instead of having a major spike of 20% next year, we were able to kind of phase it in. And you'll see when we get into the budget, the way that we did that is exactly as we discussed, is every little bit of money that we made from the electric prices from 24 and 25, we set aside into a separate pot of money so that we're able to draw down from that next year and in 2027 so that we can continue to gradually raise the electric prices. The alternative would have been no money here and then a major price increase. I know it's not ideal. I know people are struggling to pay the electric prices, but I personally still believe that minor predictable increases are better than a significant jump of 20, 30, 40%. The borough's cost has gone up significantly. This year, we are paying 800% more for the same amount of capacity that we did for the last 20 years, and then next year, we are going to pay another 20% more. It hit the legal limit on what capacity can be charged under PJM. There are many state and federal level politicians looking at potential solutions for this, as well as the business community, whether that is rewriting some regulations to permit faster, whether that is bringing on nuclear power, whether that is extending the life of coal and oil renewables. There's potentially many solutions on the table. Unfortunately, it's most likely going to be a number of years before those solutions actually hit. So as one of the few community-owned electric systems, it's going to be on us to figure out how we best stabilize finances as well as not overburden the residents. So there's a lot of planning that has gone into this over the last couple of years, more so than we've almost ever done. And I'll talk about all that more too. Sewer fund, same as normal, and then the capital fund, there's a list at the end of the major planned capital funds. Water plant, electrical, mechanicals, again, additional leak detection, the moving to the new CRM, riverfront planning, and a few other items that we'll get into as we go further down. This remains the same as it is every year. I've just updated the census numbers, right? This is for anybody that's maybe is viewing the budget for the first time so that they can get an overview of what is actually in Tarentum, how many residents we have, kind of what our demographics look like, the median income, the median age, because all of those things help inform me of how we should be running budgets, programs, all of those other things. I have our 2026 borough officials here. We have our new one coming back on out there. Duties of mayor, functions of council, again, for anybody who might be new. Eric, Dan, Mark, and Dave is our professional services. As council is aware, 2026 is a reorganization year, so that all of these individuals, again, including myself, will need reappointed if council so chooses. Council also has the option to say, hey, Eric's doing a really bad job and we want to get rid of him. I don't think that. Eric has been doing a great job, but
Did you irritate?
I know Eric can handle it, so I'm going to pick on him all night. You don't get to be a defense attorney without having a thick skin. You can see the history of the budgets here. A lot of this, the ups and the downs, are due to capital and grant funding. In 2023, if council remembers, it really was 2022, but it didn't count till 2023, was the bonds. So the money that went into the borough's capital raised the whole stuff by a couple million. We have been fiscally responsible. When I started, there was about 4 million in capital funds from the bonds. Guess what we still have? About 4 million, and even though we spent down some capital funds due to additional grants, interest, all of those other things. Some of those things will be hitting in 2026. We have a total of about 1.6, 1.7 capital funds that are planned to be expended this year, again, because they've been projects that have been 3 years in the work, right? These are the major water tank down at the water plant itself is $1.5 million. We have $1 million grant. Half of the $500,000 will come from the capital fund. So there's a number of things like that that go on. The real estate millage, this is the history back to 2004. It does include 2025's half mil increase for the fire departments. It gives an explanation of what a mill is, if you are not familiar with that terminology. And it also gives a breakdown of, every $100 that residents in Tarentum are paying in taxes, where it's going to the borough, the county, and the school district. We have the average assessments on here and kind of everything else. I am going to take the time to read the actual tax policy update. This is consistent with what I am recommending for council to consider. Now and/or possibly later would be an appropriate time if council was so inclined to discuss taxes after I'm done reading this, and whether you're in agreement with this, whether you want to consider this, whether back to the drawing board, whatever it is that you want to do. So we've not raised our general taxes for the past 20 years. During that period, we've increasingly depended on subsidies from the electric fund to support our general fund. While this strategy has provided short-term relief, it presents several critical challenges that we must address to ensure long-term financial health and sustainability. Some of the challenges of relying on the electric fund: financial sustainability. Relying on the fund to support general operations is not a sustainable long-term strategy. The dependence places excessive pressure on the electric fund, potentially hindering the borough's ability to maintain, modernize, and upgrade essential electrical infrastructure in the years ahead. We have talked about some of these items. This gets back to bringing electric services in-house, right? And the need for 2 linemen for safety and for outage services. Some of these functions we were able to bring in-house this year, mostly the admin functions. So instead of paying $252 an hour and $270,000 a year for certain electrical services, for contracting oversight, we are able to do that in-house. Same with GIS, IT, all of those things. It is always a choice to outsource it, but even going to the lineman, right now we are paying almost $190 an hour for a lineman when the going rate for an in-house lineman is about $90 an hour. So there's a significant difference because of profit margin, overhead, equipment, all of those things. So all of those things, in my opinion, need reassessed. And before we transfer any money out of the electric fund, we should be ensuring the viability and the health and the safety of the electric fund first, right? So that means that council wants to bring it back in-house, and then we have 2 linemen in, that we don't transfer money out until those 2 linemen and those services are covered. And not only is that a recommendation from me, there is regulations at the state that your proprietary funds, water and electric, should be covered first before you send money out. But, what defines a sufficient amount of services and staff is not for me to say, and there's not really a definition on there about what all that means. I would say that if we were under OSHA regulations, they would not be allowing us to do what we are right now. You'd have to have a minimum of 2 linemen. Budget flexibility. Heavy reliance on the electric fund means that fluctuations in electric revenue, such as those caused by changing energy markets, which we're seeing right now, usage patterns can directly impact the borough's ability to provide essential services and respond to unexpected financial needs. This dependency limits our overall budget flexibility in residents. Fairness. When the electric fund is used to subsidize general operations, electric customers effectively bear a disproportionate share of the borough's financial burden. This approach is not equitable to all the residents and may create a long-term imbalance between ratepayers and taxpayers. And finally, lost investment opportunities. Dollars diverted from the electric fund for general fund use could otherwise be reinvested into system upgrades, grid reliability, infrastructure renewal, or reallocating those funds that reduces our ability to strengthen and modernize the electric system. Investments that ultimately protect residents from higher costs and outages in the future. Some things that we have moved towards this year and in previous years is getting better with the census analytics, the AMI data to prevent outages before they happen. As soon as they happen, we were able to strengthen that through some moving around again of internal resources and training. But to the point here, there are things that we can do to harden the system against storms so that we have less outages. There are expansions of that AMI system that we could be putting sensors on the transformers themselves, that when a transformer blows, that we're not sending out Public Works, electric, sometimes the police department to help us find which transformers have blown. The sensors will tell you where they're at, which means faster restoration, right? Those are all some of the things that we could do if we had some more money in the electric fund. So just things to think about.
Pretty expensive.
It depends on the sensors themselves individually, no. When you have to get 1,900 of them and then you have to get 1,500 transmitters and then you have to get a little sub box, yes.
Yes.
But it's the major investment's a one-time investment, and then kind of like our meters, you just need to kind of keep maybe 30 or 40 up a year. It would, once we figured out a little bit better in the first, I think, couple months that I was here, Mark and Howard and I were messing around with all the census stuff to be able to actually get the alerts on our phones. We were able to get to outages much quicker, but those are only meter information. It's not transformer information. It's not line information. Since we have moved with American Municipal Power, we now have some additional metering equipment at the connection points with West Penn Power, which is helpful. But there are still things within our system that we could be doing. There are things like automatic reclosers. So think about when a small branch, goes on a wire, it trips the transformer, kind of like a breaker instead of blowing it out. Automatic reclosers will try to basically flip that switch and turn it back on without the need of dispatching alignment, right? There are things that we could and probably should be doing, but in my opinion, like the water system, it's been one of those out of sight, out of mind, right? We haven't future plan, we haven't forward thinking. I think part of that is because we do not have a full-time engineer on staff. The engineer only engages with us when we ask. It's hey, I think I have a very particular problem, please come give me a diagram for this transformer to X, Y, and Z. It's not, please look at the whole system and recommend us some upgrades, ways to save money, ways to help with outages. Because I don't sleep, those are things that I do in the middle of the night, right? And that's why we have, we're looking at some of these things, and the engineers have been helpful when I've engaged with them on it, but it's not their job to look at the whole system right now. If I had a perfect world and we had unlimited dollars, I would have a full-time engineer on staff because we're running 2 utilities. But that's, lineman first, I think, is the general consensus there. So how do we deal with all this, essentially, is what it comes down to. So, while no tax increase is recommended for 2026, again, because we planned in 23 and 24, we knew rates were gonna go up. We made a phased-in approach so that we could deal with it and give us time to plan. Relying heavily on the electric fund to balance the budget, again, is not a viable long-term solution. To ensure stability, equity, and proper reinvestment across all borough services, a strategy of gradual, predictable tax adjustment over the next several years should be considered. This approach is mirroring our successful phase strategy for electric and water rates. Steady, transparent, and designed to protect residents from sudden financial strain while aligning revenues with operational realities. So some of the benefits, again, a gradual adjustment is, it's introduced over time. It allows residents to adjust their budgets gradually, minimizing financial stress and helping to maintain trust. Economic stability, spreading change across multiple years. The boroughs can preserve local economic stability, avoiding abrupt financial impacts on households or businesses. They could result from a large one-time increase. Planning and predictability, right? It helps us, again, and the residents. And then inflation alignment. Really, that's what's eating us here is 20 years worth of inflation, not adjusting the taxes. So the costs have risen. For general funds, you think of health insurance, you think of gas, postage, internet, cell phones. It's all risen over the last 20 years, and we've had really no new revenue streams. We haven't either reduced operations or brought in revenue. We've been able to sidestep that, unlike most municipalities, because we were bringing in money from electric or in some cases, water. If you'll recall, 3 years ago, we were not only subsidizing the general fund from the electric, we were subsidizing the water fund from electric. We were able to stop that. We were able to plan with you all and with Jeff and the engineers and how to reduce the shifts from 3 to 2, some slight water increases, and we are no longer negative in the water fund, but we're still transferring a lot from the electric to the general fund. So what does that actually look like? Phased adjustments, the current median assessed home in Tarentum is about $40,000. The current tax of 5.98 mils is about $239.20 per year, and each half mil adjustment would be about $20 per year or $1.67 per month. For a home assessed at $100,000, same current tax rate, $588 a year, each half mil adjusted would be about $50 per year for, 4.17 per month. These examples demonstrate how modest phase adjustments implemented carefully over time can sustain operations and infrastructure without imposing significant hardship. In summary, our 2026 budget holds the line on taxes for another year, but the path forward requires foresight, gradually rebalancing the share of revenue between taxes and utilities, trying to strengthen its long-term financial health, reducing over-reliance on the electric fund, and continuing to deliver high-quality services to residents for years to come. I should also note that the credit rating upgrade that we got recently was the first one in 2 decades. And the reason that we were able to do that is because we reduced transfers from electric to water. They did note, again, in the general fund, and we implemented a few other strategies, but the credit rating agencies are looking at these types of strategies and how much we're relying on certain things instead of the general fund. So it has an impact in the long term when we're looking at bonds, refinances, loans, things like that. We might be getting a worse deal if we have a lower credit rating because of strategies like this. I will tell you that Tarentum is nowhere near what some of the other municipalities are. There are places in the state that 50% of their general fund is being subsidized by electric, right? We're somewhere around a quarter to a third. Ideally an eighth or not at all. I'm realistic. I know that at some point for the number of services and things that we have, that we most likely need to transfer some. But there are probably ways that we can work on that, and the one that I would predominantly recommend is a tax increase. So, but that is up to council. What gradual and modest looks like is up for discussion, right? Is that a quarter mil? Is that a half mil? Is that a mil? Is that 2 mils? Those are, I think, policy level questions and discussions for council to have.
If you're gonna do it, it needs to be worth it. I mean, a quarter, what does a half mil get?
$50,000 a year. So each mill in Tarentum at our current assessed value for all of our real estate in town, so that's everything, that's businesses, that's residential, everything, gets us roughly about $100,000.
For a mill.
Yeah, $100,000 per mill. And so just over time, inflation, again, without raising those taxes, we've essentially lost $500,000 because of inflation without adjusting it.
I think we should look like at a 5-year plan, long-term, and if it's like a mill the first year, a mill the second year, and over 5 years, try to get it up to 4 mills, and to take the burden off the electric, and that way we'd have enough foresight for what we want to do. We know what we'd be getting in.
I will also say, when I was at the county and there were discussions about taxes, one of the common concerns is, okay, let's say we do raise taxes 2 or 3%, or 2 or 3 mils, and there is a reassessment, what happens then, right? Because then you'd be raking in the money. There are anti-windfall provisions in the state, so that if the county does a reassessment, essentially they would force the millage back down, right? You can't just say, I'm gonna raise things, a bazillion mils, and then they do a reassessment, and now you have, $1 trillion. It doesn't quite work that way.
But if we don't have like a long-term plan on it, like a 5-year plan, it's hard to adjust what we want to do as a borough, because we won't know how much money we have coming in 3 years from now, 4 years from now.
I am personally in favor of long-term plans. I think they do well when they're executed. However, my experience in government, long-term plans can be difficult to follow. You have changes for whatever reasons, maybe in the economy. You might have, half of the council decides that, we're gonna do whatever. You might have new managers that come in with different directions. So there is pros and cons to that. I'm still recommending it's a long-term. It's just, it's something that you have
Well,
to,
it can be adjusted.
Right.
I mean, if we have a 5-year plan and 4 years from now, it didn't work the way we wanted to, we can
you can raise it, yeah.
raise it. And we can adjust
And there's
it.
different strategies if you do something like a 5-year plan or a 6-year plan. I mean, I think you start with, well, one way you could do it is you start with, where do we want it to be? So hypothetically, we want it to be at 7.5 or 8 or something like that. If we want to do it over a 5-year period, a 6-year period, then we get into that. Do you hit it hard in the beginning and then phase it down? Do you hit it,
Sorry.
do you hit it easy in the beginning and get higher? I mean, it's,
There's things to think about.
definitely something to think about.
Well, if we hit it, say, a mill the first year and a mill the second year, what blowback we get from the residents and the businesses, then we can step it down. Or we could just go big or stay at home after that.
Well, here's my concern, and I'm just speaking for somebody that has an elderly mother that is on a very fixed income, that freaks out when something's $20 higher a month. We have to be very, very, very mindful of those
Yes.
people that it does make a difference when things go up $50 a year. Things go up $20 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to be very, very mindful, because
Yeah,
there's a
we're
lot of
cranky about
them.
that stuff.
The older generations are the ones that own the homes in this town.
I'm speaking from
Yeah, yeah.
that level.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
have to
we're on
be
a
very
fixed
careful.
income.
Yeah, yeah.
But you
Just
have
be-
people that are on fixed incomes that are fortunate to have a decent
Yeah, oh, yes.
pensions and stuff, and other
Yeah.
people don't.
Right,
Like
right.
when my one neighbor's husband passed away years and years ago, her social security was $47 a month.
That's what I mean,
And it never
yeah.
really went up.
Yeah.
And she didn't really have much of a pension, which went away. Feel like it means nothing, so.
Right.
We still have some of those people that live in town.
Right.
You kind of have to be
Right,
a little, you have to concern about some of that. But
Right.
you don't want to make it too big of a thing, but.
Right.
There are concerns all around, but
Yeah.
I will tell you, as your professional money person, if something is not done because of 21 years of not raising general fund taxes, at some point, most likely 2028, you're gonna have to make a decision of either raising those anyway, or you're gonna have to cut services. There will not be, we were able to, over the last couple of years, again, because of prudent planning, but with this 800% spike in capacity cost for electricity, we no longer have that same type of leeway and cushion that we had. Folks are already struggling to pay the electric bills, so if we raise electric, let's say another 10%, the bills per month are gonna go up $20, $30 a month, or you raise taxes and they maybe go up $50 a year. I mean, there's pros and cons, but it's difficult to, everything else, the price is going up, again, just gas alone, and no new revenue sources come in and keep up with it. And to be fair, Tarentum has done a really good job, right? We've done 20-some odd years without doing it, but that
I'm
rope
just
is coming to an
saying
end.
that we can't, I just don't think we should, if we do, not to go big or go home. Let's, like Ray said, do it slowly over a certain period of years.
We should have a goal.
Yes.
We
Right,
want
and
to
then
reach
Yeah.
then you
And
can
then
work
reach
backwards.
it.
five
to
or
see how we
6
get
years and,
Like if we want it to be, I don't know, was it 5.98? We want it to be, if you do simple, if you want it to be 8 or 7.98 and you break that out over 5 years,
Yes.
you can,
Right.
Do you know
knowing that
You know how we compare with
electric's
some
gonna
of the other
continue to go up over that
municipalities,
4 or 5 year
Breckenridge,
thing.
the Heights, say East Deer,
Compare how?
with our taxes?
We're,
You mean your millage?
we're all,
Millage.
we're higher than some, lower than others, yeah.
Okay.
So the average in Allegheny County is 7 mills.
So we're below the average.
Right, but I would be careful with that comparison, because if you go to Fox Chapel where they've got 3 mills, because the property values are worth, it's a lot more. Whereas when I was in Stowe, the mills were like 12, and they're still getting less than you are here. So it depends on, which is why I've been so adamant, and I know that we don't control that, but the reassessment from Allegheny County is pivotal here. This
Yes.
house right across the street sold for almost $200,000, it's still being assessed at $40,000. Right, and so both of these houses being assessed at $40,000, one person is paying, $40 a year, and the other one's still paying $40 a year, but both of them, and particularly, should be paying significantly higher, right?
It's taken the county forever to come up and reassess a property after it's sold. They're doing it, but they had houses in 2022 that sold way higher than they were assessed at. They finally just now raised the assessment, but went back and those people had to pay 22, 23, 24
Well-
in the taxes. But it should have been done immediately. It should not have.
But somebody has
On
to,
the law,
somebody has
right.
to trigger that, though.
Right.
So when I first moved into my house in Bellevue, within less than 2 weeks, the school district, they have a lawyer on staff that alls they do.
That's what they do.
That's all they do is somebody moves in, they file an appeal with the county because of the reassessment issue. Not every school district is doing that. Now, technically, legally, Tarentum Borough could be doing that same thing too. We are a taxing body, and there are places that the school and the municipality work together and they file those appeals. I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying it is an option. Or the homeowners themselves can file for an assessment, and sometimes they do, or an appeal, sometimes they do. Either way, and the whole issue aside of real estate taxes funding everything being an issue, this is the system that we have. And I think we are at a point that it requires careful thought and planning like we did for the electric in 2023, knowing prices were going to go up, right? So, and there's a multitude of ways that we can attack that, some of which we might want to consider bringing in some folks that have some, additional expertise or experience in doing that. We have tried in the last couple of years really to tighten down the practices for certain things. We were able to recover almost $100,000 a year by cleaning up the meter multipliers with the electricity, right? We were able to bring certain services in-house. We were able to do, we cleaned up the list for garbage a lot. When we first moved to the new garbage system, we had like a quarter of the town that wasn't paying for garbage at all, even though they should have been. There are a lot of things we were able to do, but we can only do so much. And it also comes down to the level of service that council feels is appropriate for the town. There are services and programs that probably could be cut. I would strongly recommend against it. We can't cut our one lineman. We can't cut our one water distribution person. But it's just the fiscal reality of where we're at. So this is not a crisis by any means, but it should be addressed
We need to
before it
talk
becomes
about
one.
it.
Yes,
And could you come up with figures for a 5-year plan at different rates?
yeah.
For
Okay,
us to
so
look at.
I'll get off my
So that's your job.
My
To do
soapbox.
that. Okay. Because you love numbers.
I do.
I know you do.
Financial goals and policies, I'm not gonna read through these are the same as they have been in every year. Basically, it just says that, we should have a balanced budget. We should be doing everything that we can to avoid tax anticipation notes, invest smartly. The proprietary utility funds should take care of themselves, right? Ideally, they're making money, but they definitely shouldn't be losing us money. This is when and how we prepare the budget. The budget management, right, this is throughout the year. So this is the budget the council gets every month, the checklist, and then also you get the bank balances twice a month through bi-monthly reports that come up. And then finally into the actual numbers. So budget at a glance. About 14 million this year for unrestricted / earmark funds, and about another 8 for restricted funds. So those are restricted, they can only be used for certain purposes: fire protection fund, grants and special revenue fund, recreation fund, capital, liquid fuels, and then a small teeny tiny for pension funds, which is not the borough's overall pension. That is actually a drop program that is specific to the police department if anybody is utilizing that. The pensions themselves, one of them is managed through the state. The other I manage in concert with PNC, which is for the police department. So far good. Good, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Just a reiteration of tax, no tax increase recommended for next year, the electric, the water, and the garbage. Again, the 5 kind of key cost drivers here. This is just a cheat sheet for the stuff for folks that don't want to slog through 90 pages of data. Wholesale electric capacity cost, again, going up 20%. Inflation on contracts, personnel, materials. Water treatment plant, stormwater, pensions, insurance, mandated labor obligations. Last year, pension went up like 12%, or health insurance went up 12% last year. This year, it's 7%. It worries me. It keeps going up year after year after year after year. We are able to bring costs down some by offering a buyout. We actually have a few more people that are taking it, which is good. However, if the health insurance costs keep going up, let's say somewhere between 7 and 10% every year after year, it is an issue. Investments, water treatment plant again, mechanical, electrical, tank replacement, dredging, automation, electric distribution. So we're doing about 10 to 15 pole replacements every year, which is really helping us out. When that April 29th storm hit, Tarentum was one of the best places around, right? Not only that, we were able to help our neighbors by deploying generators. The police were very helpful, Public Works. So it went well because we were doing appropriate maintenance. We started doing this year refurbishing of transformers, the ones that we can. Transformers are expensive. We did purchase some new ones, but we were able to refurbish about 15 of them this year, which is great for us in the long run. And then some improved reliability things. 7th and Ormond, TriPac, again, that same line replacement, and then the BSNA transition to the new software for reasons that we've discussed a million times. Just the same information, a little bit more. What's not changing? Again, no property tax increase. I'm going to say that a million times. Public safety services are fully maintained. Blight elimination program continues. As of this year, thanks to Mr. Bruni and council, we are up to 67 properties demoed since 2019. We may have the most in Allegheny County. I got to figure that out, but if we do, hats off to us. We're doing a good job. Shared police services, the Brackenridge remains strong and cost effective. So where the money's coming from? General fund, about 5.7 million. Water fund, 1.89. Electric fund is all the way up to 6 million. Sewer fund, 530,000. Where the money is going? Public safety, police, fire, electric, water, Public Works, Parks and Rec, administration and technology modernization, and then finally capital projects and grant matches. So again, those same major capital projects, the actual cost associated with them. So back to that water tank upgrade, that 1.5 million, $1 million of that is a grant. The other 500 and some odd thousand is the borough's match. So a lot of these we have grant funding for. Some of the things that we don't, but probably we're going to try again, but if we don't get the money, should come down. So why our rec board chair is here and our future council member, the Drescher Stadium demo. We applied for a grant previously to tear it down. We did not get it. There's another grant that comes open before the end of December that I'm going to try again. But my recommendation would be to tear it down next year if we do not get the grant. The reason for that is it is a major piece and cornerstone of all of the upcoming things. No matter which way that we want to go as council and rec board with that, Drescher's got to come down to make ready for everything else. Plus, it's not safe. That has worried me since day one. I think my first week, I had put signs up there for liability reasons. It only gets you so far. Somebody ignores that and goes up there. It's still a safety issue. They need to come down. Bull Creek Bridge repair. So you'll remember that the state came in this year and told us that we had to do a repair on some of the decking. They're spalling. It has to do with the way the construction of the bridge is when we've talked to several different engineers. It would be cheaper to fix it now than to push it off another couple years and end up paying $400,000 or $500,000. So I would strongly recommend that we just pay the money and have it resurfaced the right way. We patched it this year to PennDOT satisfaction. They said that's gonna come right back off in 2 years and you're gonna be doing it all over again and it's probably gonna get worse.
In the meantime, they haven't touched the sidewalks on West 7th Avenue
I was
for
just
100
gonna bitch
years.
about that.
They just walked them off and who cares?
So same things, you know, kind of long-term strategies here. How do we deal with all these things? The phase tax strategy, reduce reliance on electric fund, capacity reserves, which is what we are doing right now, strengthen succession planning and institutional memory. As everyone here is aware, you know, we have lost our 2 most senior utility managers this year. Between them, we've lost 55 years worth of knowledge. We were fortunate enough that earlier this year and parts of last year, that we put number 2s in place within the unions and we had them start doing some of the things in trainings that if somebody was out or something happened, that the whole place doesn't stop and fall apart. Unbeknownst to us, we needed that. We should continue to do the same thing. The individuals now, you know, they leave for whatever reason or something happens to them, they're gonna be right back to square one, and now we don't have other people to come in and train them and to do other things. We are a very, very small utility company. Having one person with all the knowledge is not ideal. And then continue to advance some modernization, so the ERP, the GIS, the cloud records, all of those things that enable us to do our jobs a little bit quicker, a little bit better. So those are the tablets when the folks are out in the field for water and electric, that they can actually see the digital map of exactly where the water systems are, when they were, you know, excised last, if there's any issues, all of those things. That is a thing that I continue to update and to work on. In my spare time.
On your drive
In
home,
your
right?
sleep.
Yeah. So we got some charts here, you know, kind of this breaks up where everything goes into revenue, into expenses, similar to last year. You know, kind of where the major drivers are for revenues and expenses. I'm not gonna read through all of these unless council would like me to, the services that the police department provides, the fire, code enforcement. What I did want to glance at is the things that we accomplished in 2025 and then some of the objectives that we have for 2026. So as in every year, we meet with the departments, we discuss, you know, hey, you know, what's going on, what went well, what did you accomplish this year, what do you want to do next year? For the police department, we've been able to repair, upgrade sections of some of the cameras. Some of the ones, and Gooks, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the ones in the park have not been working for years that we were able to upgrade. We've been strategic about the ones that we can. There's a few more that we need to replace. Now that Brackenridge is on board with us, they have some cameras in their borough building and a few other places, but some of the major intersections are missing, right? There's, of course, the creation of the K-9 unit, right? And we're gonna talk more about that in a little bit. We were able to update the building security systems. That was grant funded, so that was these doors here, including the new fob system, not only coming in here, but going into the administration office so that we can track anybody going in where the finances, the cash, the HR files, and the camera system, right? So it's about security and control, internal controls. And then we have aligned some of the policies from here to Brackenridge or vice versa to make sure that it's easier for the police department, code enforcement, whoever's interacting with the communities to be on the same page for enforcement. Same things we want to do in 2026, and continue that camera system and some of the repairs and integration and upgrading. Continue to secure community and grant funding for the annual backpack giveaway, and then to work on the alignment of those ordinances. They usually do take a while, right? So we have to go review them with the police department, we have to review them with the solicitor. Brackenridge has to do the same thing. Anytime there's an adjustment made, then both towns got to do it again. It takes some time. Specifically, the thing that everybody's interested in, here's the notes and the history as in how all this got started, and more importantly, kind of where we're at and the cost per officer. So our agreement with Brackenridge, they fully fund 4 officers, and that is everything, right? That is pension, health insurance, down to the postage. It's all included, and the way we do that is the cost per officer. 2025 was about 146,000, so that's all benefits, gas, postage, internet, cell phone, everything. 2026 is 154,000. It's a 5% increase roughly. 4% of that is the contractual mandated increase. And the other 1.08% is health insurance and everything else. Now, again, health insurance is going up across the board 7%, but because of economies of scale and how the stuff works out, Brackenridge only ends up paying about another, 1%. Because it's not, health insurance isn't the entire police budget, it's only a portion of it, right? And then workers' comp, believe it or not, actually went down. Yeah, well, when Officer Schreckengoss was hurt, and we had a few other officers, it takes about 2 or 3 years for that drop off of workers' comp. So it's finally coming back down, right? Code enforcement, permits, everything else going on there. Again, continue with the demolition, 67, again. Vacant property recovery program is going very well. We just had 6 or 7 of them last council meeting. That has proven to be really popular with the residents. County has actually picked up the speed sum in which they're doing it. I know that for a while there, it was taking them, what, Anthony, 18 months, 2 years?
3 years.
Now they seem to be down to about 6 to 9 months, so it's pretty good. We've updated several permitting procedures, including putting some online for the first time for residents or business owners to be able to get like dumpster permits and some of the other things that have been online. 2026, we want to continue with the demolition plan, continue the permitting updates, specifically as we move to the new software system. Almost every permit will become digital, and then they will get receipts, and then they can also go through community development, things like that. So right now with our software, we can't see across the board. So if I have a resident that calls and says, hey, I paid for a permit and so on and so forth, we have them in Excel spreadsheets. They're in Anthony's office, they're in the front, right? We can't just look across. That'll change with the new software, but it'll also give us the whole way across the system. So I'll be able to see every permit ever issued, that we'll be able to see, well, maybe they didn't pay for X, Y, and Z. Maybe they did. We can see utilities, we can see any notes, we can see kind of everything across there. And a lot of it will be code enforcement and community development, which we've never had in there, right? So there's a whole bunch of really cool things that we're going to be able to do with it. Once it's up and running, I'm not going to promise the world like the last one, because I know there were things that were not delivered. So we're going to continue going through them. But I have more hope with this one than the last one. It was specifically designed for a small municipality, integrated across, so that I can, search Luann, and it'll literally pull up everything Luann's ever done.
Oh, my God, please. You mean when I threw some rockets? No, just kidding.
I still think there's an opportunity. We talked about this last year, just like joint policing, and possibly about joint code enforcement. We've talked with Brackenridge about it a couple of times. I think the possibility's still on the table. I know there are grants and programs to help us get started, and then like policing, it would be something that could be paid for and shared equally, shared between municipalities.
But that'd be something, though, that we could pull in another person.
Yes.
They'd have
Yeah.
to definitely, right?
Yeah, so I mean, from where I'm sitting, we do a lot of inspections, like a lot of rental inspections. Anthony also as a code official in BCO, so when I was at another municipality, mostly all code enforcement did was garbage and grass, right? And we do that here, but Anthony is, as the BCO and things, and he's actually reviewing and stamping the drawings, the permits, because he has the training and the know-how to do that. In my experience, that is not common in the smaller municipalities. The bigger ones that have entire departments, sure. Because if we're not doing that, then it has to go to MDIA, who's charging us for, like any other consultant, they're charging us 4 or 5 times. I personally think it would be a better use if we had 2 staff members that were split between the municipalities, where you have one that's going out and doing the grass and the garbage, and that's all they do, and things like that, right? You just go around, and then the other one is doing the inspections for both towns, doing the building plan reviews, doing the permitting process, doing the zoning, doing all those more nuanced and technical things. I think would be a better use of time and training for multiple municipalities, and it would be more cost effective. My two cents.
Anthony's like, thanks.
Does Anthony get a choice on which job he wants?
Oh, no, he's doing the BCO.
No, ideally, Bob, you bring somebody in, they send them out in a car, and they never see the office except to come in and check in and say, here's all my
There's
citations
my-
and issues and things like that, yeah. Okay, so, engineering and public works, stormwater, engineering services, street maintenance, property maintenance, street signs and markings, cleaning, snow and ice, fleet maintenance. So things in 2025, the pole replacements, because they help with that. We did paving this year, tree trimming, MS4, in addition to all their duties, right? 2026, tree trimming, OJT. So again, we brought in some younger folks from Tarentum at 70% of the normal pay to help train them, as we know that we have some exiting this year. To make sure that we're getting some of those skill sets and things. It is not a given that some of the equipment and things that folks know how to use, other things you are required to have training on. If you are going to shut down 366 or Freeport, you have to have training for flagging from the state. So we sent them to do that. We need to do like pesticide application, weed killer, even in the park. You just can't go out and spray it anymore. You have to have a certification to do that. And then you have to get ones that are not gonna harm dogs and all those other things, right? So all of those things, sign making is a bit of an art, right? And we have one person here that has done it for
Ever.
many years. So we're taking those younger employees and we are making them go through the trainings and stuff, investing in them and once that individual retires, in the next couple of months, that position will not be filled and it will go back to the same number. To help offset that, again, it's 70% of the pay rate, but we're also not using summer help this year, which is about another $25,000 that we would be saving because we'll have an extra person for a couple of months. So, roughly, so far, so good, right? So it's something to look at. Curb painting, again, MS4, that has to be done every year, kind of all those things. Parks and Rec. So we did get the remaining debris off the riverfront, so all of that is gone. Long-term park planning, so they're finalizing some of that now. There were some things and comments that I had to please reevaluate the cost of the long-term park plan, and once that is 100% done, it'll be presented to council for council to kind of decide which way you want to go on that. There is the towels and the garbage cans and the soap dispensers. This might seem like a minor thing, but they're always empty or destroyed in the park bathrooms. I was looking at, and I know Carrie and I had discussed, is it possible to do recessed installation in the park bathroom so people can't mess with them, integrated into the wall, that are locked to be a little bit harder, but still be able to provide things for concerts and stuff like that. It is possible, just like everything else costs money, right? So we set a little bit of money aside to see if that's doable, or if there's some sort of other better alternative. I know that what do you call them, the Dyson hand blade things, those won't survive in there,
No,
right?
they'll
So it's
smash
gotta be something that's rugged enough, that's gonna survive toddlers, teenagers, and anybody else.
Vandals.
But something that can still provide necessary things for using the restroom. So that's there, right. And then also, and it's technically on my agenda for later, we just finished the Bolliard installation over there. Came out better than I thought, doesn't look bad. Point of that again is safety, right? That fence there is decorative, and every time that we have a car that plows into there, making sure that it's not gonna, hurt one of the small children there. All right, admin. So this is me, front office, general management, financial management, customer service, collection, employee relations. IT, you're gonna see later on in the budget, we've been able to reduce the IT cost by like 25 grand. Googs and I are handling a lot of it. So I know.
Really? What did I roll for?
Well, so many of the things now require subscriptions and license and all this other stuff. You have so many different vendors, they're proprietary. We ran into a situation with the routers out in the police cars, and you have to call 3 different people, and it was like 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the police have no access to their systems or anything else, and so instead of bringing these people in IT, Googs and I went out, we took the stuff from the car. I was able to bring it in, hook it up, get into it, reprogram the routers, and put them back, in there, and still working. Right. There are a lot of IT functions that we're able to do, and it's faster than waiting 3, 4, 5 days for our consultant IT to come up, or whatever specialist it is. There are some things that we do need the consultant specialist, but a lot of it, like every town around us, every single one, their website is managed by a company or a server, except for us. Right, I manage it's not just the words on the stuff, it's the actual back end in the server for the website and email, and it saves us probably about 20 grand a year doing that, right? There are a whole bunch of other random IT things like that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, it's just, time. Our cybersecurity and all those other things are handled by professionals. But some of those small end things, it's just quicker and easier for us to do in-house. Again, GIS maps, borough-wide manual, website updates, several grants, so that's the whole life cycle from application to project management to everything else, grant closeouts. Long-range multi-municipal plan, we updated the electric ordinance several times, and that's actually on the agenda tonight for like the 5th update. Water ordinance for the first time since the 90s will now be updated and put on here. It's important for things like pressure reducer valves, all of those other things, so that's all important to have in there, and it aligns it with our electric ordinance and some of the other items. 2026, again, more grant funding. I want to finish the manual in 2026. It's something I've been working on for 3 years, but it's become particularly important for me as we have lost, those 2 senior staff members and the knowledge that goes out with it. So it best serves the community to have an operations manual for all of the unique things that Tarentum does, so that no matter who's sitting in any of these seats, that the lights in the water still flow. New ERP system. and several other items. Fire departments, same thing. Here's the breakdown of the funding that we currently give for various things for gas, building repairs, contributions. A discussion again on the fire tax, so that same $44,000. You know, as part of the borough's broader tax discussion strategy, it would be good to talk about this one as well. I mean, $44,000 split between 3 companies is not a lot of money. Even with some of the other stuff. And the amount of money that the volunteer fire departments are saving the borough by being volunteer is roughly equivalent to what it would be for the police department, somewhere around $2 million. So, you know, it is a wise investment, in my opinion, to help provide services and financing where we can. Because the alternative would either be contracting out or having your own paid fire service. Electric fund, same things, right? So replacement of those 15 poles, we finally, 3 years later, got the small electric bucket truck in. We replaced a number of meters, like a transformer refurbishment. We brought several of those functions again, census analytics, GIS, rate modeling, planning, all of that other stuff in-house as a trial this year. You know, that is gonna be up to council of whether you wanna keep that in-house or if you wanna give that back out to the consultants. I will tell you as the person handling it that there's pros and cons. It's added about 15 to 20 hours a week to my workload, as my significant other watching the video can attest. It has enabled us to generate revenue that we wouldn't have otherwise found. Again, those meter multipliers, things like that. We've been able to tighten up processes, you know, long-term load planning. But there are several downsides with doing it this way too, right? You are relying significantly on a single person. If something happens to me, for whatever reason, there would be, long-term you would be fine, but there would be some serious hiccups in the interim about what has to happen with management for the electric system, including some of the reporting functions to AMP, some of the load forecasting, really the census analytics. I'm the only one here that handles that, so that is the system that does give the outage information to our linemen when there is a spike in voltage, when there is a power outage, whenever one of these, whatever the issues are. And that's just a portion of it. That's not GIS, that's not the program management of some of the other items. That is not the long-term planning. I also am a generalist, right? I am not a specialist. So, you know, can I get you in the ballpark in certain things? Sure. There are certain things that you're still gonna need to call in a specialist for. Pros and cons. Doing it in-house, again, has saved us. I mean, we've got the math, and we've got the cost estimates and everything else, somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 a year. It is a significant strain on me as an individual, particularly with kids and other items, and I was willing to take it on for a year to see if we could reduce cost and save things, in which we have, but you know, at what cost? So that's some things that you guys will have to decide. Either model is viable. You can be a consultant-heavy model like we've had for years, and that's fine. But that's getting back into the realm of $190 for a lineman an hour instead of $90 for an in-house lineman. You're paying $252 an hour for an electric consultant that you see 4 times a year instead of $55 an hour, 50, whatever it is. You're paying for $125 an hour for somebody to do GIS that, you know, I'm doing for essentially free. So there's pros and cons. You also have some concerns, I have some concerns, that, you know, if this precedent is set, are you gonna have future managers that are gonna be able to actually do this? There are many things since I've come here that I have taken on because I think it's necessary and needed. The communications alone, we had, what was it before, Code Red? Code Red. Rarely went out. There is, I mean, we are at a place now, which is good for us, good for the community, but every time there's a water break, a power outage, whatever, 2 in the morning on Christmas, whatever, that we are there, I am there doing, and then the personal contact and communications at 3 AM with residents consistently. You may have future managers that are not willing to do that, and you lose a level of service, which again is perfectly fine. That is, that is up to council about what level of service that you are looking for. And there are firms that you can, like, Zelian Opal pays a firm that manages everything. So if you have a power outage at 2 in the morning, you're not calling down, leaving a voicemail that nobody's gonna answer in Tarentum. You're calling a company who then routes it, that you can talk to, that calls to alignment. So in some aspects, they're getting more service that way, right? So
What's,
there's
Zelian Opal's electric co,
about,
significantly higher than we are?
yes,
Okay.
like 23 cents per kilowatt. to
20
our-
what, 3?
23, they're like our 17. I mean, it's all, again,
Oh, I know.
it's all
I get-
choices, but I mean, their taxes could be higher or lower, I don't know what their tax rates are too. It's, things that have to be discussed and decided. It's just things to think about. And that's not the only thing, right? We outsourced delinquent real estate tax collections and ended up getting more money back. So there's, I think there's a lot that has to be looked at. Yes, Mr. Kirk?
On 26 program objectives, we're gonna have to sometime think about a large bucket truck.
Yes. It's still on my radar. Brad and I just talked about it today.
Okay.
The other one's not gonna pass inspection.
Well, yeah,
Oopsie.
It's the bucket itself is too old that they will not do an inspection on it, right? And that's a,
0.38 mils.
it's an expensive thing, but again, we don't have a big bucket truck, we don't have an electric system, we don't generate revenue. So it's, pretty straightforward on that one, but it costs money.
and our hands are tied on where we can pick it up. We
Yes.
can get it.
Yes, because there are regulations.
Yes.
It's one of those, like, I, personally, after being here for 3.5 years, I have never seen an actual assessment of how well the water and the electric systems are doing. So we brought in the DEP to assess the physical state of the water system, which was not good. We have not done such a thing for the electric system since it was originally taken off West Penn Power in the 90s under Tarentum. That was the last one that was done. And it was 200 and some odd pages about this is what you can do, this is what you should do, here's all your models. And then at that point, there was talk about a hydroelectric, like a dam, all kinds of things. So it's probably past due. It's something that we can look at if council is so inclined. Okay. 5-year forecast, this hasn't changed from last year, right? So the forecast unfortunately keeps going up. The only thing that has changed this year is now that there is a legal cap. There did not used to be one. But conversely, there was not a floor. So we were paying 20 some odd dollars per megawatt for a number of years. As you know, it went up to like 289, 290 this year. Next year, it's going up to the cap of 324. Right. So good news is it can't go over. It can't go any higher than it is now for capacity. The bad news is it will never go back down to the 20s. It will never go below 150 some odd dollars per megawatt hours.
It's never gonna go down.
We have no control in this scenario whatsoever at all, other than to advocate to the state and the federal regulators It was the state and the governor that struck this deal with PJM for both the floor and the ceiling of the capacity market for energy. Pennsylvania is the first one in PJM, so we have a lot of leverage. I would encourage everyone to use it. Prices unfortunately are just, and again, this is capacity, this isn't supply. Those are the two main components that we have, is supply and capacity, and supply costs are also going up. Our supply cost is locked in until 2029. In 2021, when we have to go out to market again like we did, we have no idea where those costs are gonna be. That rate increase to customers, which still isn't ideal for customers, but a lot better than 20%. You know, we're able to absorb part of that cost because of proactive planning, and that pot of money that we set aside specifically for this. So the recommendation here is to continue with that 3 to 5% annual adjustment. I'm hoping for next year, assuming the ceiling can't go any higher, so that it should only be, 3%. We might actually be able to do a little under 3%. So we should be okay there. Keeping the capacity fee integrated like we did, and then reviewing the forecast adjustments. So the quarterly review of cost and market trends. Again, this is something else that I took on this year, and we were able to get with some specialists through American Municipal Power that were able to help us put together a pretty solid forecast and review of the current energy demands in the market. American Municipal Power has been great, in case anybody's been wondering. They've been a good partner, and they provide a lot of training and services and benefits, including mutual aid if we were to need it for a major storm. Into the water fund. So this is the big one. And by big one, I mean the one that needs the most attention. We were able to replace a lot of equipment and machinery and pumps this year, which has been great. As everyone knows, we're continuing to have some issues with the TTHMs. That is mostly due to aging pipes, particularly out by Davidson Street. And there's a few other dead ends behind Dusters. Those are the ones, because they're dead end lines, they're old, it's causing several issues. We need to replace them. Again, we've tried for several grants to replace them. We haven't gotten very far. You're talking anywhere from $600,000 to $1 million to replace just one of those lines. We're gonna have to figure out some sort of long-term strategy for replacing those. The good news is, several years' worth of those grants and planning are finally gonna come to fruition in 2026, about replacing the major pumps and equipment, installing the new water tank. We were able to purchase those. We had portable hydrant flushers this year. We now have permanent ones, which, once we get the permits from there, we'll be able to install, which will help circulate water in those dead ends, until we're able to replace those lines. And then the potassium permanganate, we will be able to move closer to the intake, which will help eliminate some of the particles in the water, hopefully further reducing the TTHMs before they even hit the plant for chlorination. So there's a lot of work being done down at the water plant. I did want to take a moment to thank Tom and everybody down there for all the additional work that they've been doing and stepping up after Mr. Adams' passing. They've been doing a good job. I know it's been hard, but just a thank you to them. All right, so revenue expense, grant projects. I know I've been droning on for 2 hours. I'm not even in the actual Excel yet. The tank, which we had already previously mentioned above, the mechanical and the upgrades, the electrical, BS&A software. Again, we mentioned the Bull Creek Bridge project, 7th and Norman, the tri-pack. We applied for another grant for that. And then the omnibus demolition. So that is the continued blight demo that we always put about somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 in the general fund to demo that. We do have a list that Anthony was able to put together of kind of the priority properties that I can send out, and then the Drescher Stadium demo, again, I'm hoping to get a grant for that, but if we don't, we should consider that a priority because it will lay, once it's demoed, it'll lay the foundations for everything that comes
There's
next.
a lot of fencing there. Are we able to resell that fencing?
If somebody will take it.
Might be able to.
That could
You wanna buy
have a
it?
use.
All that fencing.
Yeah.
That could have a use.
Well, like,
Reuse it.
like any other borough property, if it's worth over the 4,000, we have to do an appraisal and then put it out for an auction, essentially.
Or just reuse it somewhere else in the borough.
We could if we have a use for it, yeah. Okay, so, recommendations. So, capacity cost stabilization. This is the one that keeps rising, again, is capped this year. My recommendation is the same as it is above, is maintain that 3 to 5% annual electric rate adjustment, first adopted this year. We have a dedicated capacity reserve that we will draw down from. It's continuing that. Continue pursuing regional load management programs and demand response participation. There are programs that if we enrolled in, or if we could get residents to enroll in, that when you lower demand, it actually lowers the price for the following year on certain things. There are programs for smart thermostats that American Municipal Power will put one in everybody's home. The downside with that is they control your temperature up to a certain degrees. So, right.
Sometimes I'm cold.
So it's in with a range, but it's to help save and offset costs for power, right?
Like during the summer when everybody was hitting the air high.
Right. So instead of leaving the AC at 69, they might put it up to 71, right? It's a minor, it's within like 2 or 3 degrees, but they are technically options that are available. With the growing cost of power, I don't know that we should rule anything out without at least discussing it with the residents and council and looking at it. You may find that we're assuming that nobody wants to do this, but you have a large population of residents that do. I mean, I wouldn't think so for this one, but I don't know that for certain. There's been no studies or empirical evidence that would provide that, one way or the other. General fund independence and tax diversification, again, a long-term tax strategy we should be looking at. Ideally, we are not transferring more. Hopefully, there is less than 10% of the general fund that is made up of a transfer from the electric fund. Are there other things that we can do to explore non-tax revenue expansion, shared services, reimbursements, grant administration fees, right-of-way licensing? I mean, there are other things that we might be able to look at, and a lot of it really has to do with those shared services and items. Are there ways to lower costs or to bring in new revenue? Personnel and organizational continuity. I think it's the third time I've mentioned this, but I can't stress this enough. With losing both Mark and Jeff and the 50 years of knowledge that we have lost in the last 6 months, making sure that we have trained staff, that we have standard operating procedures, and all of those other things. And all of some of the advanced things that we're doing are all well and dandy, but if we can't do the basics because we don't have the staff with the knowledge and the training, then none of it matters. And a lot of that, we're kind of having to relearn some of the things. There might be options, again, for regional items. Something that I know other communities are looking at that we might want to explore, more joint and shared purchasing. We do joint purchasing for salt, which saves us a lot of money, but, we have 3 water plants within like a mile of each other. There's probably an opportunity to do joint purchasing of chemicals and save money or spare parts or other things, right? And we are not the only ones in this region that our water systems are hurting for money, right? So it's one of those things that could be a simple strategy, but provide a lot of dividends. Digital efficiency, moving to the new system, making sure that we have things accessible. I've been trying for 3 years and I just haven't been willing to pay the $60,000 to do it. Digitize the records in the attic. You know, if there's a company or a way that we can find to do it cheaper, if we can bring in an intern from somewhere and just have them scan for 3 months straight. We occasionally need to get up into the records that are in there and look at the original text from an ordinance. The online E-code is pretty good, but sometimes there's 2 or 3 words in the original ordinance that makes a difference in how you interpret stuff. And so if I had access to those more readily, it would be helpful for us, for the business owners. There are old payroll records. We've switched these computer systems like 5 times now. You can't read any of the previous ones, and when we need them for like pension, retirement, whatever, you gotta go up and sort through some stuff that's not always alphabetized or date ordered. So it's not ideal, and I don't wanna be telling the person that retired 15 years ago, I'm sorry, we can't help you, because somebody didn't think to scan or put away something the way that it should have been done, right? And then continuing public engagement, we have over the last couple of years strongly leaned into communication, right? So we're doing press releases now, we're, social media, Savvy Citizen, mailers, inserts, you name it, we're trying to do it to communicate out. There's always room for improvement in communication. There are things, and my daughter's gonna laugh at me, but I'm starting to get out of some of, like, I'm not as hip as I used to be, so we're not doing Instagram, we're not doing those other things, and some of that is where the population is at. If you wanna reach some of the younger folks, that's where the population is at.
TikTok.
Yeah,
TikTok, right. So those are communication strategies and channels that we could explore.
We can make one of those.
Let's have a TikTok committee. Yeah, we'll have a TikTok committee.
Yes.
While you're sleeping.
Well, TikTok should theoretically only take like 30 seconds.
Yes, but yeah.
It might be easier than a press release. So they're minor things, but they do help, and things that I think we should take a look at. At the end of the day, it's about providing cost-effective services to the residents, right? And how do we do that in the best manner, and how do we communicate that? The world has gone digital. We've gotten more results from digital and mailer surveys than we do really any other way anymore. So there's ways to look at community engagement too, right? I mean, we have a pretty good turnout for some of the night markets and the concerts and things like that, but it could be better. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Into the fun stuff, the numbers. All right, so for context, how we have done this for the last number of years is we average out the actual cost and then estimated cost if we know it, or in some cases, we know prices down to the T. So for example, I know for a fact, thanks to our health sponsor, that the health insurance is going up 7%. That is not a guess, that is not an average, it is going up 7%. So I don't need to guess, I don't need to average. That's what it's going up. Everything else, we kind of average out unless we have some sort of other reason to know better. And you'll see this kind of bear out. So you'll see some of the numbers go up, you'll see some of the numbers go down. There are line items that we got rid of this year and combined. So if you look at some other communities, some of them have a one-page budget. You can't really discern. Ours is pretty big. We've got like a 40, 50-page budget. And it can get a little bit confusing, not only for us, but for staff doing the purchasing. So a good example that you'll see in here is we have like 3 line items for tools. We have a small tool,
Yeah.
we have a medium tool, we have a large tool. Who decides what size and my idea of a small tool has been different than Public Works and the finance staff. And so like, things were getting entered in lines that shouldn't have been, so we collapsed some of those to make it simple and just say tools,
Yes.
right? Don't overly complicate it, tools.
A broom is a small tool, but when you have a saw, it's a large.
Right. We also added a few line items, right? We needed a very small line item in case for we established the K-9 fund as one of the special grants and revenues, so you'll see that in there. Other things have been adjusted for certain reasons, which we'll go down through and we'll explain. I can go line by line if council wants, or I can hit the highlights. I can do whatever you want, but there are some ones that I do want to point out. So first and foremost, again, the taxes really aren't gonna change that much here, right? So 5.48 taxes for general fund, gets us roughly, let's call it 500,000. We know that some of that is because folks not paying taxes. Our collection rate for taxes is not great. That is not controlled by the borough. Moving to Keystone Collections for delinquent taxes, you're gonna see that we did that this year, and it has jumped from 21, 35, 32 up to 110,000. Keystone Collections has been a little more,
Aggressive.
yes, a little more aggressive about delinquent tax collections.
They are now sending them to the magistrate.
Right. Which is what most towns are doing, right? So is what it is. Sales taxes remained, pretty consistent over the years. And then the local enabling taxes also are not, they're not too far off from previous years. Up and down depending on how, who's in town, who's reporting, who's buying what, how many houses are being sold, but that seems to be consistent as well. Penalties and interest, advertising, sign permits. These things are always weird. I mean, Anthony and I have no idea in any given year how many people are gonna decide to put up a sign outside a house or a building, right, or somewhere else. But again, like anything else, we try to average it. Cable television franchise fee stays pretty consistent. We just did that 2 years ago, renewed the contract. Yeah. Fines, interest income, leasing of borough property. So anything that you see here that has a red and a line through it, those are things that we got rid of. And the reason that we got rid of this federal grants here is because it never belonged in the general fund. It has its own special grant fund, and that is under DCED. So the Department of Community and Economic Development has a chart of accounts that tells you where things go. General fund, 01, you've got, an 04 and 05 and 06, for example, is the water fund. It is always a water fund, and 06 is always a water fund. 07 is electric, so on and so forth. We simply moved them to where they were supposed to be. We've had a new finance staff member this last year and a half, and we have spent a lot of time cleaning up where things are going to make sure that they're being reported appropriately. There have been some items that the borough was doing them and hitting the cash account, but not showing up in the budget. So you're gonna see some of those items too, and that has to do with the computer system and how you actually enter things as a payable or a repeat payable, or a whole bunch of nuance that next year we're not gonna have to worry about because the other system doesn't have half of this stuff. So you'll see these relocated in 04 fund. General municipal pension, so this has jumped considerably. And the reason that has jumped is because we now have new officers we have more staff, right? We have from Brackenridge, and pension aid comes with them in that. Policing, I explained this earlier, but the cost per officer for 2026 is about $154,000. The total contract for Brackenridge is about $659,000. 5% increase from the previous year. Next year will be the first year that they've had to fully pay for all 4 officers. We had the 4th officer come on board May-ish this year. So they didn't start paying until then. So this will be their first time paying everything. Plus the built-in admin fee for kind of any unknowns or doing some of the administrative paperwork and things, payroll, benefits, all that other stuff that the borough collects. Moving down. School crossing guards, it stays the same. Occupancy permits, again, hit or miss, depends on how many people are coming in and out of town. Parking permits, PennDOT work, right? So that goes up and down. It's going down a little bit this next year. They took a portion of something back. Other contracted work for PennDOT, so they took something, they gave us something. They're going to be doing this year, 2026, a lot of work on Freeport Road from Freeport down to Eastier. So they're going to be milling and paving the entire thing. And while they're at it, they're doing some other work. We were just up there today. They're going to be doing some of the school zone lights as well as a pedestrian crossing on Freeport. So there's work coming there. And then, while I'm talking about it, 2026 and 2027 is supposed to be major restoration for the Trenton Bridge,
Yes.
which unfortunately does not include the sidewalk over by Nick Chevrolet, because we specifically asked about that, and
It doesn't count.
it's not part of either project, and that is PennDOT's responsibility. Miscellaneous income, all those other things, write-off account balances. Insurance reimbursement, I am sad to say, is higher than it should be. We have people that are running into poles, fences, backing in the utility trucks. It's just a fact of life.
It happens.
It does. Insurance reimbursement. My things got cut off here. I'll have to fix that. So this was about 1.3 and then 1.4 and 1.5, and you can see it's, not that you can see this, but it's taking up a slight bigger and bigger share of the transfer from the electric fund every year. So we're transferring in about 1.5 million. Transfer from the capital reserves, we don't need one this year. And then the fund balance carried forward. So this is that money that we specifically set aside. It had us cash in the bank to help pay for and draw down, since all the electric prices and things are going up. So the way that we have pooled cash. And without getting too into the weeds of this, that includes general fund, water, and electric. That's all put into a single bank account, because you get higher interest on that. But it is still technically segregated in the computer system. So we know water, electric, general, what belongs to where. It's just all sitting in a single bank account. And when you guys get those reports twice a month, that's what you're seeing in the disbursement account is that money there.
Okay.
Council, mayor, no raises for you, sorry. Tax collector, that all stays the same. Legal fees, Eric, that's something else we've been able to reduce by doing a lot of that work in-house. So what we've been doing for other professional and solicitor legal services, as I get more familiar with some of the stuff, typically I do 90% of the ordinance. I send it to Eric to make sure that it is accurate, that it is legal, it is correct, and that saves us, I'll let him tell you, but quite a bit.
No, I just, clean it up and make sure that it's in line with the statutes in the Commonwealth, because ultimately I'll be on the firing line. If something goes wrong with it.
It's all your fault
right?
then.
Yes.
Right.
I'll accept that responsibility willingly.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
So, like in every year, we have the standard 4% for everybody. As I sent the council already, I'm actually, and I don't want this to be a big thing, but I don't need the 4%, I'm fine. What I would request council to do is to take that 4% and split it up amongst, what's there for the staff that legally you can't, CBA, you can't do anything for that. It doesn't make a major difference to me, but for some of the staff I have asked them to do a number of things that are well beyond their scope, and no one has given me any hardship about it. And I appreciate that, and it's what makes this place run, that everybody's wearing multiple hats, so that I would just ask the council consider that. Nothing else really is, it's the standard increases for the life insurance, and you're gonna see these percentages the whole way down for almost everybody. Cell phone bond, meetings, conferences. I know that I have money in here, and you'll see this for some, like, I try not to travel too much. I'd rather get the education locally, or let council go to Seven Springs. Office administration, so you'll see what we did here. When we brought Sharon on board, there was a weird, I don't want to say weird, when you look at public works, police, water, everybody else, it's all grouped in as one. It's all, here's your health insurance, here's your stuff. For some reason, administration was broken out into like 3 or 4 different things. It wasn't consistent with the rest of everything. So what we did is we just put it all together into wages, right? So that's everybody across the board. That's Michelle, Amanda, Sharon. And like everybody else, like me, like Brad, that's broken down by 3 funds, because you're like, well, wait a minute, how are you gonna pay 3 people $71,000? It's not. That is a third of the total. And we have done that well before my time, because even if you look at mine, obviously you're paying me more than $33,000, right? It's broken down, a third into the general, a third in electric, and a third in the water. And the reason for that is because all of the administration has significant impact in those systems. Like, you can put out all the electricity you want, but if you don't have somebody doing the billing and the collection, you have no revenue coming in. And so they do that for electric, they do that for water, they do it, the permits and everything else for the general. They're helping with police and code enforcement matters, IT, everything else. So all of any administrative item in this entire borough is going through that front office. You have some municipalities where, I want to keep picking on Stowe, but like they had their own police secretary that did their admin work. But we don't have that here. It's all, everything is, and that helps us in a couple different ways, because we usually know what's going on, but we focus all purchasing through the front too, so that we can be consistent and it's keyed correctly, and that we know what's going on. Pros and cons to that approach as well, but neither here nor there. Meetings, office equipment, computers, all of those things. Make sure I'm not missing any big items here. Building supplies, electricity, natural gas, sewers, repairs and maintenance, building. We're not using a lot of machinery and equipment in the front office. Police. So these numbers for patrolman salaries, right? So we have 14 officers in total. Again, 4 of those are paid from Brackenridge, so we're getting that 600 and some odd thousand on the revenue side to help offset those expenses. Going down through health insurance, some of the newer officers, I'm gonna out them here, are young and single, so we don't have to pay $22,000 for insurance for them. It's like $5,000, so that's helping us there.
Ready to mingle.
Right.
You are not permitted to get married.
Pension and retirement, those other things. I highlighted this here, police and task force wages, and the reason I highlighted that is we spent $32,000 for overtime for task force wages, but if you go back up in the revenue, we are getting that reimbursed by the FBI. That was the agreement that council entered into. So it's an offset. We're not expecting that much next year to go in. There still will be, but even so, FBI pays for, under the agreement, the entirety of any overtime amount. And Chief Vakulik and the mayor still retain that ability to call that officer back at any time. I will say, and let the mayor or lieutenant jump in here if they want, but the number of investigations and arrests and things in this region that officer has been able to do from the FBI has been significantly more than I thought it would have been. Fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
He's a full-blown agent now.
Well, it also gives the borough access to some of the federal resources and their systems that we did not otherwise have, specifically for drug interdiction and gang violence, guns. Violent crimes, right. Which is good, he's able to do it. I'm a little sad that it's that much higher than I thought in this region, but, you know, it is what it is. Uniform allowance, again, pretty standard, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, workers' comp, office supplies, gas, building supplies. You'll see, like, we eliminated a whole bunch of different things in the police here, the small tools again, like, we've combined them into either ammos or operating supplies or tools, things like that. Try to make it a little bit easier. So, just for council's knowledge, when I put this out, I'm gonna collapse the red things and get rid of them so that it does not add any unnecessary confusion. So nothing else would change, none of the other numbers, it's just these will go away. I only have these on here to show you that where we're collapsing things into. Repairs, camera repairs, in previous years, again, so this is an averaging function. We were up at 21,000, you know, this year we've only had 1,400 for the camera repairs. That's because we were able to replace some of those cameras in the park, the ones that weren't working. We have new cameras, a number of those items. Meetings in K9, that's a new one here, so green is new, 500. They still have, and you'll see in the 04 fund, they still have like $8,000, $9,000 left from donations and grants where they're pulling from for really any random thing. That $500 is in there as a just in case. Our friends at the fire department, a lot of that is staying the same. You know, last year and the year before, we increased the donations to them, no, 2 years ago. Everything else is kind of averaging out. The fire tax is in its own separate fund because it's required to be. It's its own separate fund, own separate bank account. That's that 44,000. You know, again, this is something that council could consider when you're looking at future years' tax strategies of, do you want to increase the fire tax to help cover equipment and things at the fire department? It's expensive. I know a set of turnout gear is what, about 10,000?
Complete with the mask and everything, yeah.
And we have how many firefighters?
I think our roster is,
Between all three companies.
A lot. Okay.
More than 3.
Right, so my point to that was, you know, the $44,000 isn't going far, and that's just turnout gear. I mean, I know that the ladder truck we have is 20 years old. There's a lot of the other equipment, as we've discussed before, the buildings themselves are falling in. You know, one of those issues that a volunteer fire department, no matter which way you slice it, is cheaper than a paid one. So just something to consider. Code enforcement, that administrative assistant, because it went full-time, we folded that into admin. She is still, you know, helping Anthony with all kinds of other stuff, but we just lumped it in where it belonged with admin. That's not what I want to talk about in code enforcement. Small tools, phone and internet, wireless air cards, you're gonna see that. We eliminated that everywhere and just folded that into cellular or phone and internet. The wireless air cards are cellular, it's the same thing. I don't know why we had those broken out originally, that predates me. Here, this is what I want to discuss. This is that $65,000 that I talked about earlier as part of the demolition for code enforcement. You know, historically, we've spent somewhere between, you know, whatever, this year we spent 30,000. We still have another 25, 30,000 in there. We're trying to get the properties on Porter Street. Whether we can actually get to them this year by the time that we're done dealing with insurance and advertisement and everything else, I don't know.
Dwight, I talked to the Matt Snyder who house caught fire. He does have insurance, I think he told you. I spoke with him and he said he's been waiting for his insurance company to respond so he can have that place demolished.
That's new information. to
Yeah,
me.
he hasn't answered anything that we've.
Yeah, I spoke to him
Okay.
probably a week ago and he said he does have insurance on us
Okay.
and he's waiting for them to respond to him.
Well, we'll have to consider other actions then.
They
Okay.
may only cover the contents that he might have lost. I don't know if it'll be enough to cover demolition, but we'll.
Because if he has insurance, what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to automatically send us the money for escrow.
Yeah, he had bought
And
he had bought another house in Campton in Nature Heights.
Oh, he was the tenant.
Pardon?
Was he the tenant? Oh, yeah, he would have just had renter's insurance for his stuff,
Okay,
for his
that
personal
explains it.
stuff, yeah,
Okay.
not the building, yeah.
All right, helpful, thank you. Property and redevelopment, those are the various things around town that we might need to, this year, it's not a lot, but we cleaned up the tires on Summit, over by the Summit Fire Department, right? We unfortunately have a lot of things around town that might need cleaned up, things that might need redeveloped. That is a flexible kind of area for council to decide what they best want to use those funds for. Is historically what that has been used for. Emergency management, nothing is changing there. Animal control fees, this really isn't germane to the budget, but later on the agenda, we were supposed to have a renewal for Hoffman's. With today's incident, it is my understanding that there is a recommendation to table it from the mayor.
Yeah, we want to table.
Right, so when we get there, but,
Chief's looking into other options there.
right. So we'll, that, I don't know that anybody's even available in the area, anybody else?
We're researching it.
Right, so hard to say.
There's one other in Allegheny County, but not close. Probably not able to handle. So
So unless I'm told otherwise, I'm gonna assume the budget is gonna stay the same for,
there are other options that can be discussed,
okay.
but that will take longer than this.
Okay.
Not tonight.
Solid waste fees, going up a little bit, that's that $1, increase, the cost for us go up every year. We tried for a joint contract this year with Harrison. There were issues. We will have to put it out to bid again in 2027. The reason that we did it this year was it was the end of our regular contract. Harrison's, we were trying to align so we can do a joint bid and get more bang for our buck. It didn't work out. We had an extension option with Waste Management, which we took, so that we had garbage. So there is an option in 2027 that we might be able to look again with one of the neighboring communities and doing joint waste services.
Didn't I just see something in the paper, Harrison went with somebody?
They had no
Yeah, I was
choice.
gonna say,
We,
lots of unhappy people.
I did it early because after the first fiasco, I think when I was like 2 months on the job,
Yeah,
I gave us options this time so that we could go, like if we had a good option from a joint bid from Harrison and us and Harrison, the council could go with that.
Yeah.
Or if it didn't work out, that we weren't scrambling last minute, that we could do a renewal with Waste Management, and that's what we did.
yeah.
So I do learn.
Who does Brackenridge? Who do they have?
I think,
Atomic.
is it Adam?
Atomic.
They didn't even put a bid in for it.
Yeah, they're not a big operation either.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they might have one truck or two trucks.
Pros and
Yeah,
cons.
I thought Harrison went with Shank or somebody small too, it felt like.
That's who went with county.
County? I don't know.
Okay. Streets, kind of going into here, right? This is the temporary employee, I don't want to say temporary, but the added employee until the other employee retires, the OJT employee. And then again, once that employee retires, we are not filling that position and it'll go back down. So all these other things are for, a year essentially. A lot of these are not significant increases. In a lot of cases, they're decreases. We have some newer vehicles, so the repairs aren't as much. Small tools and equipment, emergency services, phones and internet are staying the same. Electric, natural gas, building repairs. Building improvements, at some point, and I know I've talked with council about this too, at some point, Tarentum Borough is gonna have to consider what we're doing with the Public Works garage, whether that is a renovation or moving it and rebuilding it. It is getting in pretty rough shape. We probably have, I don't know, another 10 years yet, but, putting up a Public Works garage is not cheap, and planning is prudent.
And it also takes time.
Yes.
So you gotta take and plan on that too.
It's gonna be a bit of a weird one too. The location for a Public Works garage next to Bull Creek is not ideal. For
Well, since it flooded the one time really bad.
Well, not just the flood, but you
Yeah.
think about
bridge.
the oils and anything else that could get into the creek. Now, we have procedures and things to help minimize that. The DEP does come in, but even still, the risk is there and probably unnecessary if you were able to relocate, but I don't know that you can relocate. I don't know
Where
where
else would we put it?
you would go.
Where Drescher Stadiums. Just kidding you. I figured you needed a chuckle.
Well, it's something to think about, and
Yeah.
at some point in the next year, we're gonna have to move those utility poles from
Yeah,
down at the water plant. When that new water tank goes in there,
they gotta go.
they have to go, and we have limited options on where to put them.
Backyard.
My project
Put it in
with
my yard.
the new Public
don't
Works
work anymore.
building is just finishing up.
Well, and I think there might be options and considerations there, like, there are places that, they share a Public Works building. Is that an option for us? I don't know, we'd have to look at it.
Yeah, that's a,
You might wanna, I can ask some questions, but it was all grant money they got to build theirs. Cause there's very specific things I had to do and turn into them.
Well, in
So,
some of those grants, do we do that, or do we go after the water system?
right,
Right,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
and they're not all the same pots, there's
Right,
different
right.
ones. A lot of them require match money too. So there's that end of it too.
There's a lot of room at Crab Diamond for excess telephone poles out by the salt shack behind it, in that area there.
What did you call it?
Crab Diamond,
Crab Diamond.
across the street from the garage. It's called Crab Diamond.
Is there a reason it's called crab?
It was a
Yeah,
baseball
baseball
field.
field.
Okay, I appreciate the context. It's the first time I've ever heard that. Still learning.
Pretty good one.
Street sweeper, snow removal, traffic control devices, roads repair. So this is cold patching, some of those other items. Recreational construction. So we put a little bit more in there for recreation construction for whether that is the inserts for the walls, for the hand towels and things in the bathrooms. There's a few other things that we need to clean up and repair, so some of the, I don't even know what you want to call it, the bucket in the spray park, the actual bucket that
Yeah.
tips
Yeah.
over, it's becoming a problem. It needs replaced.
Yeah.
Part of it is anchored with like fiberglass and it keeps breaking. So, our options are either fix it next year or we remove it, which would not be very fun for the children. So,
They just like to throw a ball in there and get it stuck.
well, that's could be part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe consider replacing it with something different.
Yeah, that's what we got
Yeah.
the money in there for. We just gotta look at the options
Yeah,
and,
they like the bucket, they like it dumping.
like, the other,
Fire hose up there.
Fire hose will do it.
well, the other thing is, like, we don't wanna spend a lot of money on there because hopefully, we have some
Yeah.
additional park upgrades coming, so it doesn't make sense to
into
spend
it.
60 grand, right? That's not a, community development, right? Again, this is town's landscaping supplies, those types of things, sanitation, anything else that's, this isn't one that we particularly use, but we can. So that would be like when we previously did some landscaping and things like that. You could argue some of this could probably go in the parks, but if it's not in the park itself, I would say it's community. I personally, I guess it's in the park. I hate that one of those bushes is missing from, you know what I'm talking about? In this cement, like in the park, there's that little U shape of bushes, and one of them is missing.
Where'd it go?
It hasn't been there since I've been here, I don't know.
Obviously, I never noticed.
I never noticed.
Probably got died and yanked.
I'm just saying, if we have a little bit of money to either put a bush back in there, or
Oh, I'll
remove
buy
them
a bush
all
to
and
put in
there, I'm-
We'll take a collection, we'll get a bush.
Where is it?
it's right here in the park.
Well, 50/50.
It's right when you know the house right here on the corner?
Yeah,
As soon as you come in, there's that little cement thing there, and there's bushes.
okay.
It's a little U of bushes, and it's, yeah, okay. I'm not crazy, it's there. Yeah, thank
But
you.
when things died, they just yanked them.
Right.
They were never replaced.
Right.
or-
Either put it back or remove everything and
When
make a
they used,
plan.
when
like
they
I
used to
said.
have the garden
Take care of
club,
it, it went.
when they had the garden club ladies would come in and replace things and stuff like that, but they all just kind of.
club anymore.
Okay.
Because they all died. Sorry.
Insurance, classified expenses, fund balance reserve. So this is our operating cash, this is cash on hand, right? Like, we need a minimum at any month of $500,000 to $750,000 in cash. Our power bills, paying those alone are $250,000, plus payroll, plus if somebody hasn't cashed a check from a month ago for a project that's $80,000, we technically have a policy on this that we developed like 2 years ago, that the minimum is 500,000, so that we don't have an insufficient amount of money in there when everything hits at once. So like in August, we were up at like $690,000 in 1 month because it was the bonds were due, it was the power bill, it was insurance, everything hit all at once. So if you don't have enough money in there, then you're gonna have a problem. And then, believe it or not, we have a little bit of money left over to transfer to the sewer fund. That is the general fund, so that is by far our most complicated fund. Everything else coming down is a little bit easier to understand. The real estate fund is new, right? So fire, it is real estate taxes. 44,000, we got a little over 44,000 this year. Should be pretty similar next year. So revenue, expenses coming out, right? This is all the grants and the things that we either know we have or we are, fingers crossed, have a pretty good shot of getting. I have a whole separate thing for these, but those are some of the projects that we had listed earlier, right? So some of that grant money for the water system. You'll see that we've got like 1.8 million for the water system. Some of that money comes from the state. Some of it comes from county. I just heard recently that we may be getting some federal money for that, but I have to wait for confirmation. If that's good, that's great, and then we can update the budget. The more grant money we get, the less of a burden on residents, and the more things that we can fix. So we have aggressively gone after grants. We submit, 15, 20 grants routinely a quarter, and we maybe get 2 back, which isn't great odds, but it's still, every bit helps. Grants are hard to get. Anytime the current environment has been more challenging than I've seen in my 20-some-odd years in government. But we will continue to lean on our relationships with folks and proper planning to get these things submitted. Then you can see the breakdown of actually where we're funding them, what our expenses out are. The water, recreational, any ones that we have. And then you'll see, this is the important one, I think, for Tarentum. Our grant match expenditure. So this is the actual cash that the Tarentum, that we're taking out of capital or general or wherever and spending to get all of this other $3 million in grant match money, right? So we're spending $750,000 and we're getting, let's call it 280, 290, or 2.9 million back. So,
Bad.
it's not bad, right? But that also goes back to the tax conversation. We're able to do this and have this match money right now because of the prudent saving in the bonds from the last couple of years. At some point, if you are not setting that $40,000 aside from the general fund that we're putting in the sewer, you're not setting it aside for capital planning or for grant matches, you're not gonna have the money to go after grants. Some grants, you can get 100% funded. It's exceedingly rare, and it's difficult for small communities. I've heard many times from state and county officials, and they're like, "Oh, you only need 25%." Well, 25% of 2 million, for a town that's small is hard. And so then the big communities gobble them up, and we get nothing. So we need to think about that long-term planning and how we're setting money aside for grant matches or capital planning. So just food for thought. Recreation Board. So donations there, income in, things going out. This is something else to consider. I think, they do a pretty darn good job with the money that we give them. There hasn't been an increase here in a number of years, so even something minor, a couple $100, $1,000 would be something to consider in future years. The cost of printing for the magazine, correct me if I'm wrong, has gone up, or they may not be in business for who we're using. So,
Yeah, but that's all paid for, or that's no taxpayer money at all.
oh, okay, well then.
It's all paid for by Abbott.
Then don't give them any more money.
No, we did do quite well, and we're thankful for what we have. And the rec board actually asked me to ask for more money, but my opinion is that we have better things to do. We're good.
Okay, fair enough. Then I won't belabor the.
Don't tell them I
Thank
said
you.
that.
I better hope they're not watching this.
I know.
They're not one of the
But I
six.
don't know, I think we did good.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Water, most of the revenue predominantly comes from actual sales for the water system. So, the increase here is from the strategy that council just adopted a couple months ago. So we have several different classifications of water. And when we talked about this before and explained it, American Water's recommendation, there's 3 or 4 different models you can do for a rate strategy. I'll go back to the electric analogy. So for electric, your residents are paying a straight flat rate. Your commercial properties are paying a lower rate, but they have demand meters. So when they're pulling in a bunch more all at once, you're recovering the strain on the system and the usage for that through demand function. Our water system does not have a demand function. American Water's recommendation is either a flat rate across the board or the opposite of what we're doing in a higher rate for commercial properties to encourage conservation. When we discussed all this and kind of the strategy the council set on was eventually getting it to just a flat rate. You don't want to penalize the businesses. We don't have a lot of businesses here to say, reduce your water usage, but at the same point in time, we're losing a lot of water in the system from leaks, and I could strongly make the argument that the residents are subsidizing the businesses for how we're doing the water system. Our model is a 60-year-old model that multiple professional organizations say get rid of. It is not fair to your residents, and so that's freezing the water rate slowly increasing the commercial rates until it equals out in like 2030, and that's where the slight extra, money comes from there. As previously mentioned, my professional recommendation for this extra money is to put it into water line replacement. Wishing and hoping that we get grants to replace 14 miles of water line. I'm going to use the pun here as pipe dream. It would, even if we can replace 1,000 linear feet a year, and it takes us 15 years, it's better, in my opinion, than continuing to do nothing. The pipes are at their 100-year limit. They are causing TTHM violations. They're breaking more often. It's causing disruption to businesses, homeowners, to the roads, which is costing us money. The only other way to deal with this would be to take out a significant amount of bonds, which we cannot do because the bond money that we already took out a couple years ago, we are at our limit for what we can pay back unless rates and taxes jump significantly. Like, you'd have to triple taxes. So a slow, long-term strategy is a not ideal one, but it is one that moves the needle a little bit every year. There's no shortage of challenges here. Council, mayor, legal, manager, admin, it is all literally a mirror of what you see in the general and the electric fund. It's all boom, 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 boom. Because it's broken into that three. Same thing with street director salary. What becomes its own that is not anywhere else is distribution in the water plant. So our distribution coordinator, that is Mr. Linder, who comes to us with a plumbing background and has been doing great. All of the things that come with Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, workers' comp, vehicle fuel, tolls, professional, all of those things. Where the prices start going up is down here. So ground maintenance, water line maintenance, repairs to equipment, replacing water meters. Those are becoming harder and harder to get. So our water meters, when we're placing orders of them, are now taking 6 to 9 months to get in a water meter. It's taking a year to get in electric meters. We are stuck with these ones because they're the only ones that integrate in with the census system. So we've had to shift our strategy from saying, okay, we need to replace 5 meters that we know that have gone bad because residents have called about them, and we can get them in a month and replace them, to having a stockpile. We always kept a few extra on hand, but we burned through those extras so much now because the delay in the supply chain. And so now we're purchasing, for the first time, we're gonna purchase a pallet of these things. But it's still gonna take several months. And for the electric, like I said, it's not gonna come until next summer. And we found ourselves in a place that we've actually, in a few places, had to reuse 1 or 2 glass meters temporarily until we could get. So it's becoming a challenge. We'll figure it out, but the long and short of it is we need to put a little bit more money into meter replacement up front so that we can order it ahead of time. Water valves, this one is an issue here. The last major water valve project was done, Anthony, do you remember? It was like 2017, 2018, 2016?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything in the last 6 or 7 years.
There hasn't been. That, because the one before that I know was before Nestico, and that was grant funding. And the problem you get there if you're not replacing these things, when we need to isolate sections, we need to turn water on and off. They're breaking, they're old, it's become a problem. There was only so many that were replaced so many years ago. We have a number of them that need to be replaced, so that when we do have a water break, or we something else that we can isolate it and we don't have to dig up a whole bunch of stuff. So we shifted some money around to focus it to go in there. It's only gonna do a minor portion of what needs to be done, and we also have a valve excise program now that they're going out and they're marking and they're excising and doing all these preventative maintenance things that we should have been doing for moons. And then there's a few other odds and ends items here, is the tools, the equipment, a few other items, some things, again, that small tools we got rid of and shifted it in the tools. The water plant, theirs is a little more predictable across the board. Chemicals are staying in the same neighborhood, it's not too bad. Operating supplies, engineering has gone up. Some of that is part of our match for the grants that are coming in, so you can do in-kind costs as well. Laboratory testing has stayed the same. Electricity, natural gas, equipment repairs. There's a few other odds and ends that we know that need to be replaced. These debt principals, the debt interest, again, those are our bonds, and that is split between the three funds. The discount that Easter gets contractually, which, by the way, that contract is ending in 2032. So at some point, negotiations are gonna have to be had with Easter about a new contract. This contract is from the 80s, I believe. 70s, late 70s, early 80s.
1800s.
It's older than me.
It's old.
So there are gonna be, when we sit down for the actual negotiations, there's gonna, we're gonna need legal for that. And we would probably be wise to bring in somebody that might specialize in some of these water functions about what fair and equitable is. They shouldn't, in my opinion, they're never gonna pay the rate that our residents are paying because they're getting theirs in bulk, right? They're not paying for all the pipes and stuff, but they should be paying more than what they're paying now through the Sweetheart deal. And there's always the opportunity that they tell us no, and that they go and get water somewhere else. And if that is the case, then Tarentum is gonna have to figure out the viability of the system without $600,000 from Easter in revenue per year. We have time, but it is something that should be on the radar. Okay, the moneymaker, electric. Metered sales, right, that's that 5%. Turn on fees, delinquent fees, a couple other odds and ends here and there. It has its own separate fund balance. All these things, again, are the same as water in general. It's getting down to, there we go, lighting, okay. Traffic lighting. These, so maintenance is hit or miss, literally. I mean, we've had times where people are hitting into poles and the thing comes over. We have some of them that are older, some of them are newer. We were able to replace the one on 10th here within the last 2 years, which was great, so not so much maintenance there. The lights in West Tarentum are pretty old. We've tried for several times to get some grants for that. The state has basically told us no. We'll see if we'll approach a different thing, but each of those lights is about $100,000 to $150,000 to replace them. Yeah, it's much more expensive than I thought. Electric for the lights themselves, right? The electric costs, we have LEDs, so it's about as cheap as it's getting there. Operating supplies, vehicle repairs, this is kind of where I want to look at. If you go back a couple of years to 2022, 184, 190, 170, 252, 260. Our vendor, contractor, Schulteis, didn't update their prices for a couple of years, and then they sent us a price increase this year that there's not much we can do about in next year. And this is where that regular straight time, we're paying $190 an hour. for the linemen. We went and we had discussions with the IBW, we benchmarked it, we talked to the other municipalities, and mostly they're paying in the neighborhood of somewhere between $70 and $90 an hour for a lineman. So we are significantly higher because of the profit margin, the markup, all of the other things. There is an opportunity for us to bring the lineman functions back in-house like the borough used to have. But if you do that, you're most likely gonna have two, which means the cost is gonna be actually higher than it is now, because you're gonna have two, even though the cost is lower per employee. But that's, again, safety, repair, maintenance. I worry about continuity of knowledge. So when we have one person running public works for the water plant, and they leave or, pass away unexpectedly, we have the same situation with our electric system. Our lineman here is doing significantly more than a normal lineman. With all of these smart meters, they have to be programmed, they have to be installed, and if you're not doing it correctly, as we have found out, you're losing revenue or you're hurting residents or business or whatever. You bring in a lineman off the street, they're not gonna be doing those things, it's not within their scope. Flat out, not gonna do it. So that's something else that we're gonna have to discuss and look at about where Tarentum wants to be with that model, and it gets back to the heart of, do we continue to outsource several things, or do you bring him in-house, pros and cons? And that's more of a policy question, I think.
Big pro on that would be eventually, by bringing it in-house, the forward cost that we're putting out on the back end, we're gonna get it back. It's going to catch up, and it's gonna be better further on down the road.
I've talked to some of the other municipalities in western Pennsylvania too, Pitcairn, they have all theirs in-house. And their prices are similar to ours, they're more of a similar setup as we are, minus the water. Zealy and Opal outsources a lot of theirs, but their prices are significantly higher for their residents. Elwood City is a mix. They have some people in-house, but they're outsourcing other functions. To me, what would make sense here is probably what we should be thinking about for the water systems and what we're doing with EMS and police, is sharing resources and services, particularly with Pitcairn because they're so close to us. Is there an avenue for sharing some of the purchasing of when we have to purchase the actual lines, buying spools that we can share stuff there? Yes, we have mutual aid with American Municipal Power, but let's say Howard's gonna be off for a week for vacation. You can't call in mutual aid for that. And the other person that we do hire is out sick because they have pneumonia. Is there an opportunity for us to pay the same price and bring a person in from Pitcairn, right? There's things that we could be looking at with our municipal neighbors who do electric, because there's so few of us that we're kind of all in the same boat, and everyone's like, I don't know the best way to do this. I worry about continuity for the town and the residents, that if that one person goes away for whatever reason, by the time that we scramble and get another person, you could be looking another month from now. And if you have a power outage, if you have some sort of other issue, it's not gonna be good. So, things to think about. And prices are going up. They went up significantly, not just for that, for regular, but their time and a half and their double time and a half is crazy high, right? Twice Eric's cost.
Wow. You know your own business.
All right, going back down through it.
On our private rate, Dwight.
Electric repair, so the meters and things, again, we're putting more money into the meters because we have to buy a little bit in bulk, repair, replace. Tree trimming. So Howard does a lot of tree trimming on his own, but there are ones that are a little more complex if they're intertwined with the stuff that, again, one person should not be doing. And so we put a little bit of money into that this year for the first time to call in some others professionals, which has been helpful. Same thing for next year. The dues and subscriptions, that is some of the stuff coming from American Municipal Power, as well as some of the, I have the word for it, there's like a transmission fee through there as well. Electric system upgrades, those are minor things depending on what we here need for kind of the system. Building improvements, equipment, Christmas decorations have held up pretty well, which is great. Electric power purchased, I'm gonna have to fix this so I can show you how much of a difference this is. This is the supply, the capacity, all of it. So you see it going from, 2.4 million up to 2.9 million. Not quite a 20% increase, but, pretty close. And it was in the ones before. Like when I first started, this was down at like 1.7, 1.6, because costs keep going up. The good news is we have been able to significantly cut down on professional fees. I mean, 700 and some odd thousand to 300 to 110, 110, 110, and a lot of this is the, what's his name? He's the backup plan guy.
Yeah.
PRX Energy. So like, I win the lottery or get hit by a bus, that you have somebody to call and there's some continuity to go on, that's what we're paying for his for. That one, this all concerns me too, right? Again, like, we've been able to get to a place that we've reduced costs by $300,000 to $400,000 conservatively per year. Can we sustain that? And if we don't, what does that mean for the residents? Is there a better way to do it? Can we share services with other municipal electric systems? Can AMP help us with some of these things? There's a lot of, the electric system has a lot to it. It's getting more complicated, not only with regulations, but technology, necessary upgrades. And we haven't even started really talking about, like, at some point, we're gonna have to allow for solar, EV charging, and there's a lot that goes into that. Like solar alone, once you allow that, like if we were mandated under the PUC, we would have to buy power back, which if you have enough people in the town, theoretically could bankrupt the electric system. Not likely, but it is possible. There's a number of different things for the electric system that we haven't even begun to talk about. Then you've got, we've discussed before, is there options for solar and renewable for us? Microgrids are starting to become a thing to help with outages. Is there distributed energy resources? So American Municipal Power is putting a couple places in where they'll basically put in a bunch of batteries for people, and we don't get to use it or touch it, and they make money off of it unless our power goes out, and then we get to get the town powered or key buildings for free off of the microgrid for resilience. There's solid straight transformers are coming on, the type of lines that we're gonna use. Like there are so many things to look at and to think about, that if Tarentum is gonna keep this around for another 30 to 40 years, that one of those assessments would be good in helping us plan and figure out the best way to move forward, and what technologies do we invest in, what type of consultants should we have. We are fortunate that we don't have a substation to manage, because we would need all kinds of additional staffing. At some point, a SCADA system would be nice. We have the smart meter components, but we don't have the SCADA. We have the SCADA down on the water plant to help control transformers, reclosers, all those other things. Would probably do wonders for the electric system in the town. But those are future items. Debt principal, debt interest, again, the same as the general and the water. Insurance cost, that's going up. Minor fund balance reserve, back into the fund balance reserve, and then transferring out. So this is the transfer, this is the 1.5 million into the general fund, right? Which is what we've been doing for the last couple of years. The sewer's pretty straightforward. We're not, it's only if we need repairs in there. 40,000 coming in from the interfund transfer from the general fund. We are still waiting. The case has been argued with the state Supreme Court. We're waiting on a final decision for how sewer fees can be calculated. Most municipalities and cities have a formula based off of impervious surface on what you pay, so your impact on the stormwater system. There were a couple places that challenged it. One court said, no, you can't do that. It amounts to a tax. It's an illegal tax. The other court upheld it. It's gone to the state Supreme Court. It's been a big fight. You have a lot of universities and nonprofits and farmers saying, don't do this, we can't afford this. On the other end of the fight, you have the cities and the towns and the places saying, okay, but if we don't do this, like, we are required to have stormwaters and all this other stuff, and every time that UPMC or Highmark or whoever builds a brand-new parking garage, and they completely change the stormwater system and the runoff and all the other, and the impact, should they not pay for it? So, we're still waiting to see. The decision is expected to come down in 2026. Once that hits, we're either gonna know, yes, we can do it, and if we can, do we follow the same format as everybody else in doing the measuring of the impervious surface? And what does that look like, and how is that implemented? Like, is Anthony gonna go out with a tape measure and measure everybody's sidewalks and everything else? I don't know. So that's
Fun.
to be,
You have a lot of extra time, don't you?
to be determined.
Do it, Will.
We're getting towards the end. I know everybody's tired of talking to me. Capital reserves, so this is basically, again, capital accounts, right? This is the revenue, this is the money that we have in there now, which is about 4.8 million. I gotta fix, I'm sorry that this isn't showing all the previous stuff here. But these are grant matches, projects, emergency funds, current capital projects, future projects, all those other stuff. Again, a lot of those water system things, some of it's grant, some of it's capital funds, a number of different things. This doesn't do a very good job of explaining it, but when it's all said and done this year, in 2026, if we expend everything the way that it's supposed to go, we're still gonna have, $3.3 million in the capital account. And again, it's 4 to 5 years worth of projects all coming together at once for the water plant is the bulk of that money, with grants as well. Liquid fuels, pretty straightforward. We gotta get our stuff yet for this year. We just got the final okay for paving. So once I get that, I will update everything else here. As a reminder, we moved to a paving program every other year. So we paved this year, which means we will save the money next year. And in 2027, we will pave because we have more money to pave. Paving is one of those things that I would strongly recommend that we talk with Brackenridge, Eastier, and Harrison. Cost to mobilize the people for paving is high, but once they're out there, if you can tag along with somebody else, you can do a lot more.
The cost of moving the equipment is pretty expensive.
Yeah, and then the police pension, again, this is a drop account. We only have one officer in the drop account right now. This is just account maintenance fees and then for the investment earnings and actuary. A long 2 hours later,
2.5.
2.5?
6 to 8:30, that's 2.5
2 hours
hours.
and 37 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the fast version.
37 minutes.
We didn't even get
That
to
was
the
not
We
agenda.
haven't even done the agenda. Okay,
We're
all in favor
speedy.
of passing everything on the agenda.
That was the quick version. I mean, again, to be fair,
Yeah,
we have a much more
There's a
complicated
lot of
budget
stuff,
than
right?
a lot of places.
Turning the page to the very end.
And it's helpful not only for me and internal staff, but I would hope for the public to have everything broken down and also the corresponding, at least high-level explanation of where your money is going. Like, I don't get this where I'm at. It's like a one-page sheet, and like, I have never idea what's going on.
Remember? It was a 2-page sheet. We had everything on one page, and the last page it said, hey, everything balanced
Left
out.
blank.
It was blank.
This is the thickest Cliff Notes I ever saw.
Do you have Cliff Notes for the Cliff Notes?
I have, if you care to know, I have another 100 pages of
No, we're
historic
okay. We
information.
believe you.
I think it'd be quicker if you just said it's online.
The budget's online. Send us the
Information is online.
Okay, are there any questions from anybody about the budget? And I am happy to talk to anybody either offline or if you have questions later, or anything else.
Thank you for your time and effort.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dwight.
A lot of work. It's appreciated.
Okay, I will shush up and turn it back over to you.
For how long?
Sure.
For how long we get it? Pretty fast.
Well, wait, you should see my president's.
I'm not even, you don't get to do a president's report this time. Next
All
time.
right,
I don't know where we are.
we didn't get very far.
We're like right here.
Say we're at the top. We are wasting the time. All right, at this point, time that opens up to the first citizens comment section. Again, this one is for anything that is on the agenda this evening. If you need an agenda, they are on the back table where you signed in. As a reminder, please stand, state your name and address for public record. We have a 3-minute time limit, and this is for residents or taxpayers of the borough. Anything that is on the agenda this evening. I'll start with this gentleman right here and go right across the row.
Thanks,
Nothing? Nothing? Carrie?
Yes, later.
Okay.
Sir? All right, boom. Look at that. Check one.
Check.
Exceptions to open meeting laws, we had none. You will see we have meeting minutes from the 10/14/2025 council meeting. And then we had a special meeting last, what was that, Monday? On 11/10/2025. Both of those meetings, or excuse me, both of those minutes, I need a motion to approve the 10/14/2025 regular meeting minutes and the 11/10/2025 special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Ray on the first, Maggie on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm just getting them.
Okay. Passes unanimously 7-0. Communications into the borough, we had no communications of note come into the borough from the last meeting. Committee and department reports, I'll start with you, Bob, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, monthly report for both boroughs in October. We had 40 major crimes, accidents, hits and runs, assaults, burglaries, criminal mischief, domestic disturbances, fights, robberies, sexual assault, terroristic threats, trespassing, and warrants. We had a total of 210 calls between both boroughs. We had 9 on-view arrests, 9 summonses, 8 warrants, arrests equaling 26 total, 7 traffic citations issued, and 2 non-traffic citations issued. That's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. President's report, let's see.
Give them to all reads.
Just a couple things. Last, or 2 Thursdays ago, we had a Allegheny League of Municipalities, the Borough Association meeting on November 6th. pleased to say I was elected to be a District 1 representative for the 2026 calendar year. The general membership meeting, if anybody is interested, is on December 11th. I believe the fee is like $65. If anybody's interested, I will be there. But again, if anybody's interested, let me know. I think this year it is in Coraopolis. They've moved locations. But that's where you get sworn in and all of that kind of fun stuff. If anybody is interested, let me know. December 11th. And that's all I have. I'll keep it short just for you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mr. Solicitor.
No report.
Oh, I like you even better.
You got picked on.
Googs, do you have anything to add?
You did.
Nothing to add.
Anthony, code enforcement.
Nothing further.
Yes.
Engineer report, the link is posted online. As a reminder, do not discard leaves, grass clippings, used oil, paint, solvents, or other waste into the storm drains, roadside ditches, or stream channels.
Do you even have a
Scared to
voice?
give
Do
it
you have a
back-
voice
scared to
left
give
at
it back
all?
to you,
Do you
but
have a voice?
I will
All
pass it
right,
back to Dwight.
I'll go quick. Budget's available online.
Yeah, woo!
We have a EMS public hearing December 4th at 6 PM at the Highlands High School. Please come out because this will help determine the future of EMS. Tree trimming in the park is done, park bollards is done, paving is done, water system we've already talked about. Done.
Yes.
Excellent.
Good job.
Postponed business, there is none. New business, we have some consent items. We are,
That one.
yes. First one is a motion to pay the borough bills from the month of October 2025. The second one is the 2026 council meeting schedule. It pretty much follows the same dates of the second Tuesday of the month with some additional things when we get to November of 2026 and December of 2026. Hopefully, we don't need the 12/15/2026 meeting because that's my wife's 40th birthday. And if you make me sit here on my wife's 40th birthday, God bless you.
You're council
Anyways.
president, that's not me.
She could just come here and we'll have cake for her.
Like I said, God bless you.
Champagne.
She's gonna be mad you said how old she's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yes, the fourth one, motion to advertise the joint EMS authority hearing on December 4th, 2025 that we just talked about. And under the mayor's recommendation, I'm okay with tabling the Hoffman's Boarding Kennels contract until we get some more information. So I'm asking for a motion to approve consent items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
Second.
Right on the first, Luann on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. Can I have a motion to advertise the 2026 operating budget?
So moved.
Second.
You still need a motion to table the.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Go
Get
back
back
up
to
a
that.
minute.
Hold on. I lost my train of thought.
Brian
Who was
and
the?
Brian made the motion and I don't know who.
Brian
was
and
it?
Maggie.
Maggie, okay.
Maggie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, or opposed?
You tired?
I am. Passes unanimously 7-0. All right, we're gonna go back. I do need to have a motion to table the Hoffman's Boarding Kennels contract.
So moved.
Second.
Luann on the first, Maggie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. Thank you, sir. Resolution 25-22, 2026 Borough Fee Schedule. Anything you want to talk about with that?
There's literally one item on there, and that is the $1 update to the garbage.
All right. Any questions or comments? Can I have a motion to approve Resolution 25-22, the 2026 Borough Fee Schedule, resolution of the Borough of Sherman County out of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, setting the amount and method for fees for services rendered by the borough, its employees, and tax collector for various services performed for the citizens, ratepayers, and other interested parties on a day-to-day basis.
So moved.
Second.
Susan on the second. Brian, was that you on the first? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. Oh, I missed that last one.
That's okay, we read it.
Ordinance 25-08, electric service. Any questions? Anything you want to talk about?
I didn't say last time.
Got a motion to adopt ordinance 25-08, electric service. An ordinance of the Borough of Trenton, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, establishing the rules and regulations of the Trenton Borough Electric Department and setting forth the rates to be charged by the borough for the furnishing of electricity to the residents of Trenton Borough.
So moved.
Second.
Ray on the first, Brian on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. Water service ordinance, very similar to 2508. Any questions? Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 25-09, water service ordinance? An ordinance of the Borough of Trenton, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, establishing the rules and regulations of the Trenton Borough Water Department and setting forth the rates and charges to be assessed.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, I missed the first one.
Me?
Is that you, Ray?
Yeah, no,
She made the
I did it.
motion, I
I
second.
told you I don't have this one.
I said it was me. Should have punched you.
Luann, Ray, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. Ordinance 2510, the 2026 salary ordinance. Any questions or comments before I ask for a motion? Can I have a motion to advertise ordinance 25-10, 2026 salary ordinance, an ordinance of the Borough of Trenton, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, fixing the levels of employees of all departments of the Borough of Trenton and the rates of compensation thereof for the calendar year 2026.
So, second.
Susan. Right.
And on the first, Ray on the
No,
second,
Susan.
all in
Susan.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. Quit looking at me like that. And finally, ordinance 25-11, designation of Co. as a one-way street. Anything to say, or Anthony?
I'll turn that over to.
Yeah, explain that one.
Coast Street. It's a safety hazard when they turn off of East 10th Avenue to go up there. There's two cement walls there. People swing over into the northbound lane to try and squeeze in between them walls. What I would like to suggest is do not enter there, and from Summit Street over to Co, put up a one-way sign. So they can just come out from that direction on the 10th.
We've had borough trucks stuck there too, including our
They-
electric truck.
they-
Yeah.
If you see that wall,
It's horribly tight.
yeah, it's
it's real
terribly
tight.
tight, and the wall is scraped up from vehicles. So it is a safety hazard for traffic.
Makes a lot of sense.
So you're gonna come off of Co. and then only be able to
210.
make a left, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a number of the one-ways somewhere. Oh my, I have to find it in here somewhere. It's in here, I promise it is. There's a designation of all the one-ways, just like there's a designation where all the stop signs are and everything
I
else.
I spoke to Brad, and he already has signs, do not enter in the one-way sign.
Ready to go?
Any questions?
Nope.
Can I have a motion to advertise ordinance 25-11, designation of Co Street as a one-way street?
So moved.
An ordinance of the Borough of Trenton, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
Wasn't it?
amending ordinance 85-5, traffic and parking regulations to designate Co Street as a one-way street.
I'll second that.
Maggie and Ray.
Maggie and Ray,
I wasn't paying attention.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0.
I mean, just like any other thing that goes out, I mean, this is the reason it'll go out for advertisement. If anybody from the street, you know, they'll have an opportunity to come in and right.
Perfect. Mr. Pataki, ABN COG report.
Nothing this month.
I got the memo. Business Advisory Committee, Mr.
The only thing I have is, I just wanted to let everybody know that our two grocery stores, if you pay cash, you get it. One says it's a discount, and I forget what the other one said, but it's a different price. It's less if you pay cash.
Right.
Just like Trenum Hardware, like what you has.
Because you're paying for the fees on the card.
Yeah, you know, yeah. So in other small businesses, that's not a bad idea. That's all I
The
have.
one that's up here, I can't think of the name, but I saw that they're gonna do
McKay.
delivery service.
She started delivery service the
Yeah,
other day
McKay.
within a 1 mile area. She has a trike with a basket on the back.
It's gonna be good in the snow.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. She can
Thanks,
get
Ray.
trucks.
Kevin, back to you, finance and administration.
Online. No city DL.
Maggie,
Kevin.
Parks and Rec.
No city DL.
Well, this coming Saturday is the Trenum Brackenridge Parade. Starts at 1 PM, and there will be a prize for the best float. Lineup time's 12, Carrie? 12 PM. I think that's all that's coming up right now.
Do we have, were we putting up the Christmas trees before the parade or after the parade?
I did see that the one Christmas tree is out by the east ear.
Oh, I was supposed to ask about that. I got sidetracked. Brad called me and asked what the plan was, because last year we had people to volunteer and decorate it. But
Yeah.
I also know, because I was one of the 4 and 5 of us that wear it, we didn't have a lot of people to come
We
decorate.
did not.
So would it just be the preference to have Public Works decorate them?
If they if they have time, sure.
At this point, if we want them up by Saturday.
Yeah, if we want to.
You have to do that.
Yeah. If we want them
I
up,
didn't even
then
think about
yeah.
the Christmas trees. Okay.
If they wanna put the lights on the one by the track, they could do that too.
Okay.
Is that it, Maggie?
Nobody gonna mess with
I
them this
think
year?
so. Yeah.
We'll watch them closer.
Mr. Nolan, property, health, and zoning.
Well, being that we're coming into the Christmas season and everybody's putting up their Christmas lights and bringing in their Christmas trees, keep your live trees well watered and inspect your Christmas lights and make sure that they are not in bad condition so as to protect yourself from fire.
We already put up our Christmas tree.
Oh, God, mine's still in the basement.
Thank you, sir.
I still have Halloween stuff up.
Susan, public safety.
Fire report for Eureka, fire calls for October, stats for 29 calls representing 40 personnel hours. EMS calls 175, representing 717 hours. We did the ghost tours and some other community services, in addition to 42 hours of training. And we have one individual that has completed his advanced EMT and passed and is working on his calls, so hopefully getting another ALS provider.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's online.
That's not online, but you're welcome.
Ms. Homa, public works.
Online.
Oh, that was.
She was jumping ahead.
It's
Yeah.
all right,
I was like,
ahead.
done.
Oh, boy.
She was gone.
I
Cut it
know.
off, yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Did you have something else?
Me? Yes,
Sorry.
real quick, I want to start to talk about maybe finding an area, if we have a piece of land where we can actually make like dog runs, for people who can, responsible owners that can take their dogs out and, have like an individual run, play chase, do things along those lines. Fencing, when he said something about fencing, that would be a great repurpose.
That's true.
That would be a great repurpose of the fencing. They would be individual runs so that there's not a mixture. But I'd like to find a place to maybe do that. Not at the park, not anything like that, but a place where I can take my dog out and throw the ball for 30 minutes. What's that?
Creek Street.
It would have helped. In all honesty, it would have helped, but I realize that tonight's a late meeting and there's a lot of things to talk about, but if we had a nice little place that we can just let
Crab
owners.
Then we have that,
Crab Diamond would would be nice.
Grassy area right along the railroad tracks, where the one Memorial
You
is.
can't,
That's,
Norfolk.
that's not our property.
That's not ours.
That's not our property.
No, the only places besides down there that you would have enough land to do would be up in the Fourth Ward.
We can talk about something like that, but, I mean, it would be kind of like a nice thing. And there's woods and stuff like that, maybe they can do trails. Something along those lines.
Cool.
It would keep them out of the park, and it would
No.
provide exercise and do things along those lines.
It won't keep them out of the park.
Well, maybe. I can't say anything. We walk our dogs.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna stay with you for redevelopment and revitalization.
That was it.
that was it. Sorry, I'm tired. It's been such a long day. I'm sorry.
You're right behind you. Ray, utilities.
There are no water report and the electric reports online.
I got one thing to add to that, as a suggestion to look into. I saw an article where a Canadian outfit, Canadian town had power outage, and the railroad was able to provide a locomotive as a backup generating source for their town. And it might be something that we might want to look into.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on that.
Norfolk's, I mean,
You never
it's
know.
not.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
I'm glad the Canadians could figure it out.
Yeah.
Norfolk Southern,
Nah.
Brian, I believe the Canadian Railroad and electricity is government,
Government owned.
it's Crown Electric in Canada.
I had to lean on a congressman just to get the rail crossings
them
patched.
out, yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, so-
Man,
had to come to
just a
town.
thought, you know,
We can just find it too.
that would do us any good.
All right. Brings us to our second and final citizens' comment section for the evening. Again, this one is open to all residents and taxpayers of the borough. As a reminder, 3-minute time limit, anything that we talked about this evening or anything that is on your mind or as a resident. I'm gonna go this way. Stand, state your name, public record, the whole 9 yards. Stretch your legs. You're up, sir.
Earl Father Jr., 917 Corbett Street. I'm still old school. I don't do online. My power was out this morning, but seemed to be the problem.
what was the
The
problem?
power outage today, what was it?
Oh, it was a
Corbett
phase,
Street.
it was a phase issue from West Penn Power. It hit everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I was out. We were, everything was
it
out.
like a power surge or?
West Penn didn't give us the full details other than it was something with the substation and they had like 4 people down there looking at it.
Because it blew out the electronics on my electric stove.
It blew out the one in the police station as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, it
I
was-
don't do online, I figure I'd come in person.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you're welcome. We were talking about too, so normally when we have an outage like in the area, people call us. Well, the lines anymore, if the power goes out, we can't answer the phones because it's tied directly to the internet. So we're gonna solve that and get a generator so that people can call us
Yes.
during power
To
outages.
the office and I left a message.
Okay, I'll have
But
to check and see, maybe make sure that it's not on my phone sitting
I
somewhere.
didn't
Okay.
get a call back.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Cynthia Craver, 541 East 9th, 3 sentences. Complaint, this was advertised at 7 in the Valley a month ago, so I came in late because of that. I apologize.
Really?
It said it was moved to today, but it also said 7 PM.
I'm gonna see if that's a me issue or if that's a Valley issue right now.
That's number 1. Number 2 is a compliment. Thank you for responding about the stop sign on East 9th Avenue at Will Street, which has been blown through 50% of the time. I live right near it. I called and left a message early in the week that I just noticed that the vehicles parked there at very close, and the sign is lower than the other signs for the cross streets. I mentioned that, thought it needed to be higher, and it was done and is visible and apparently is making an impact after all this time, so it's really wonderful. Third thing, the Environmental Advisory Council has in fact started the native gardens down at the marina, helped with that last week. It's looking like a garden, and the trees and everything went in. It's really nice. Only comment, we had people watching who are living there in their vehicles. So just,
Living in the marina?
they're saying that they're living there
Okay.
in their vehicles.
And I did double check. It is in fact 6 PM that we sent to the valley. So if the mistake was made,
Yep.
I'm not accepting that.
I'm not complaining to you, I'm
I know.
saying on
What?
behalf of the community.
I make mistakes all the time when I'm doing a million things, so I just
Since
wanted to double check.
I rely on print.
Yes.
I don't, when I get a Savvy Citizen notice, it just says, there's a Savvy Citizen thing.
Well,
So I have to go log in and find a computer to see it, so I don't see anything about this unless I really hunt it down. The paper I get, and it was a month ago where it gave that information, and it said tonight,
well,
and-
we haven't,
advertise it at the October.
yeah, and we haven't announced this yet, but the paper just came out recently and said that they're gonna stop daily print edition.
yes.
Which means we are going to legally in January have to change our paper of publication. We are required under law to print in a daily publication. So the only choice that we're gonna have is gonna be the Post-Gazette.
Oh, yeah, they're finishing their strike and they're all gonna go back Monday.
I thought the group was cutting back to issue new paper 3 times a week.
They're
That's
doing
what-
3 times and
That's what I'm
the
saying.
other one is,
It has to be, the law requires that it has to be a daily publication in print. And that's one of the things that the
We've been fighting it, ALOM. for
ALOM and the
4
PA
years.
Association, because
Right.
if Pittsburgh is now down to one paper, how's everybody else doing, right?
all
So
of it,
it's,
yeah.
it's one place, 1 or 2 places in Philly, 1 place in Pittsburgh, and the rest of the state cannot meet the law, the requirement of the law.
the Valley News is doing 2 days a week in print and the Trib is gonna do 3 days.
It's
I don't know
definitely
about
correct
Saturday
on
and Sunday, I
Savvy
guess no one's gonna print paper
It's
Saturday and
definitely
Sunday
correct
anymore.
on Savvy Citizen.
Either way,
Yeah,
we're,
I'm
we're,
not surprised,
I
but it
think-
was wrong in the paper.
I think it's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the side guide. So
Yeah.
they should lower my price.
Exactly!
Yeah, I don't do the online.
Hold your breath.
Thank you.
Say in one hand and wishing the
Last
other.
but not least.
Carrie Fox, 170 Cedar Street. Just one little, you probably already know FYI, but when you do the Bull Creek project,
I'm sorry, the what?
when you do the Bull Creek Bridge project,
Yes.
just remember, we have one way in and one way out.
I do know, and, that honestly, the 100%, I don't know there's much I can do about it, but that concerns me, that there's only one way in, one way out.
Well, can they do one half of the bridge at a time?
No, I mean, yeah, that's not what I mean. What I mean is if there's an accident on the bridge, if there is a flood, if there is whatever, like I know when there was a flood years ago, that like, it became a problem to get people in and out. And honestly, like, besides putting another bridge here or here, I don't know how you solve that because of the terrain here, and it's not like we can go above or under 28. And even if we could, you're talking millions of dollars.
Funicular up to East Street, yeah.
I signed a check
Well,
for
it all-
Trenton Borough Sheriff. The bridge was built half, and then the other.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but when the expressway was built was when they gave us one way in and one way out.
Do they have a projected timeline for how long that would take to resurface that?
We haven't even gotten to that yet. So like, first step is getting it authorized in the budget. And then in January, February, I'll have to engage with the engineers. We'll have to put it out for bid. And then when they come in, when we meet with the pre-construction meeting, at that point, we'll have to work out a timeline and then a plan for kind of half in and half out. And either it's probably small enough that we could get away with flaggers or one of those, kind of portable stoplights. Yeah.
Public Works is tied up.
Kara, back in the day, was your family involved in getting in a rowboat to get out of there on the?
We went up over the hill.
You went up over the hill?
We hoofed the mud hill and went up, because we didn't leave till around 10 at night.
Yeah, that was
When the
bad.
fireman said, you better get out. But my mom and dad went out on a boat. And they,
That was something.
Crazy.
Scary. Is this like a record?
I know, jeez.
Make a motion. Can I just make the motion for you?
I'll second it right now.
Before I ask for a,
I'll first, second, and third.
before I ask for a motion to adjourn, publicly, Dwight, thank you very, 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 very much. I know firsthand how much you work on this and how much you work on this and honestly give it your all with everything else that you have going on. This is exactly what I expected because it's awesome and it's top notch, so.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Dwight, one more question.
Mr. Mayor?
I noticed throughout this that you do a lot of above and beyond with the
Yeah.
What's the chances to get you in college so you can become an engineer and be in house?
Would you do that for us?
I'll tell you what, if Toronto wants to pay for my engineering and law school all at the same time, I'll commit another 10, 15 years somewhere. How about
You already
that?
have a 15.
Yeah.
You sat right here.
Joint engineering law school, yeah.
Get them enlisted in the.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn it? Now it's
Me.
9:09.
9:09, I say me and Ray said.
Luann said first, Maggie already said second.
Okay,
I don't
whoever,
know,
I
I
don't
said
really care.
whatever.
We'll fight over it.
Aye.
I was